Hey, looks like some people are here. Anybody? You shouldn't be muted. So let me make sure you're not. Mute all, unmute all. Can anybody talk? Anybody there?
I can hear you.
Who's that?
That's Adam.
Okay, I just had to click allow you to talk for some reason individually.
Yeah, I wasn't working before.
All right, I'm gonna go down this list. That's unfortunate that I can't just, there's a thing that's for all of them. We are gonna have you guys individually, once we get going, mute yourself unless you wanna ask a question so we have less feedback. But right now I wanna make sure everybody can talk. And obviously I'm new at this because I did not have to do this last time.
Hey, are you there, Greg?
I'm here.
Got my end figured out, buddy. I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm unmuting everyone right now individually for some reason.
I can hear you, Greg.
All right.
Hey, Greg, go here.
Last time I did this, I did not have to unmute people. So what I'm going to ask is that probably going to have you mute yourself unless you want to ask questions. And then I really don't want to deal with people typing questions. It's just too small for me to see while I'm doing everything else because I have to keep the computer a little ways away from me. So I'd rather you just speak up. So just unmute yourself and talk and ask a question. Try to obviously wait till I hit a good spot, but and I'll stop occasionally and ask you if you have any questions and let you guys talk for a minute because I will let questions drive the thing quite a bit. All right, poor Tobin is having a hard time with technology.
Hey, Greg, this is Chaz. There's a function on here that says raise hand.
Okay.
And I don't know what that does on your end.
Good
so
question.
If I'm muted, I'm going to mute myself and then do the raise hand.
All right, let's see.
Did that do anything?
Nah, I didn't really see anything.
All right. All right, I'm just going to go mute.
All right. I feel everybody can feel free to leave it on right now and we can talk. And
Greg,
This
Yeah.
is Francis checking in.
video settings, there is one where you can enable HD that give you better video, I think.
Okay.
Right now it's kind of low resolution.
is it? All right, well, let's see if I can make it better.
Hey, Greg, this is Jim Cooper. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Hey, Greg, this is Francis. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right.
You got Bill here?
Yeah, I've got everybody unmuted that I see as a participant. I have 20 participants right now. So I'm not seeing the enable HD part on my, where did you see it at?
So under video, like right below where you select
yeah,
your
there we go.
camera, there is like my video, and first option is enable HD.
Yep, just did it. Is that better? I'm a lot farther away than I was. I don't know why. But we might have to read
It's about the same. Could be bandwidth dependent.
to not be able to see my drink over here. So I might move the camera slightly closer then. Yeah, that does look better though, because it did seem a little off, but since I'm outside with a little bit of glare, I wasn't sure if it was just me or not. But while we wait for other participants to get here, feel free to ask questions, and I'll just ramble for a few minutes till we make sure we have everybody, because I hate people to miss anything. Anybody?
What are you drinking?
That's a whiskey sour.
I approve.
Well, that's good. All right, I just unmuted a few more people.
Hey, Greg.
Hey. So I'll have to fiddle with it a little bit. So you're gonna have to bear with me as I learn the interface and I learn to do all this. I'm doing it by myself. But we're gonna have a lot of good content, and it'll go for at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, or as long as you guys really have questions. I'll keep going. I am gonna have to mess with the camera and point it down so you can see me do stuff and things like that. So you'll just have to put up with that. And about an hour into it, we'll probably just cut it for 5 minutes and everybody can go take a break real quick. And then we'll fire it back up. But I don't want to start till I'm sure we have everybody. So does anybody have anything they just want to talk about first? Ask any questions about anything.
What's that piece of land behind you? I'm trying to orient where you are in the sound.
That's Woodby Island.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't orient too well. I don't want you to find me.
Hey, Greg. How steep is the drop off behind you?
Oh, about 200 feet.
That's what I thought,
And
assumed.
it's pretty steep. Like, you could definitely like launch a parasail or something off this, no problem. It's not quite a cliff. It is cliffy in some areas, but it's close to a cliff, and it's way up. So
Close enough that you needed climbing gear to rescue the goose.
yes, when my geese decided to attempt to fly, I actually had to use ropes on the part they were on to get down to them. I took a big backpack, empty backpack, and I rappelled off. I rigged to my deck and my neighbor's deck, and so I was nice and secure. And I rappelled off and captured them and shoved them all in the pack. And had to climb back up. I did hook up one Prusik just as a safety on the climb back up because it was truly a cliff. But I was able to drag my sorry ass back up without having a heart attack. So. And then the next time it happened, people came over and they just pulled me right up. So that was quite nice versus climbing up. But yeah, we've had a couple duck and geese adventures with them going over the edge. All right, we're going to say we have everybody. I'm going to check and make sure that you guys are all unmuted. It looks like you're all unmuted. Okay, armor. So let's talk about armor ratings really quickly in case you don't know about armor ratings. I'm going to have to keep remembering to look up at the camera because I'm going to want to watch myself on the darn screen, but I need to not do that. So, all right, armor. Armor is rated level 1, 2, 1, 2A, 2, 3A, 3, 4 would be your general ratings. Almost nobody makes anything under 3A anymore. My first vest I bought over 20 years ago was from Second Chance Body Armor, Rich Davis, and it was a 2A, which is not rated to stop all handguns, but basically will because vests are overrated. So they don't want failings. There have been some failings in the industry. We can talk about that, but generally don't want failings, and so they're overbuilt. And so even though you really need a 3A to stop all handguns, a 2A probably would stop all handguns. Quite a bit more concealable. The vests they did back then had like beveled edges, which the industry doesn't like that because, of course, then the edge isn't rated, right? So that last bit, if you bevel it down so it conceals really good, it's not going to have the same rating. And so that kind of whole process went away. And then really the market is cops and the military, and they all buy 3A vests, which are fairly bulky and stiff. The military didn't used to use rated vests. Up until recently, their vests were optimized for fragmentation, not for bullets. And it's a different fabric. It's Kevlar 129, but the way they weave it is differently. So, a vest that's going to stop bullets is much smaller threads, tighter weave, and it's more elastic, whereas a fragmentation vest, the fragments are very sharp. And so you're trying not to get cut. And so it's a different weave, though it still works either direction. It's not optimized. And, but the military decided overall to go with a rated vest instead of a fragmentation vest. I think it was just economics and the scale of the thing. And so now the military is using 3A panels as their soft armor for fragmentation. Then we get into level 3 and level 4, and that's when we start having the ability to stop rifles. And level 3 will stop most everything, but depending, it's not really rated for 5.56. It's rated for 308. So the rating systems, they shoot only certain bullets, and then they call it rated. And so you get this level 3 vest, it'll stop 30 caliber projectiles. You think, well, obviously it'll stop 5.56, but it won't. And so there's level 4, which will stop even like 7.6254 AP and 30.6 AP, it'll stop 5.56 also. They're pretty heavy. And so what a lot of the companies have done now with plates they've gone to what they call a 3+, which is a non-official rating, or they're calling it a level 3 green tip. So they're somewhere between a level 3 and a level 4 plate where they are guaranteed to stop everything that it says a level 3 will stop, and they're saying they will stop 5.56 rounds. Questions on armor ratings? Anybody?
I'm a little confused on the numbers and the letters.
Yep.
Is
So
a
the
3
A,
and a 3A? Or is
so
it?
3A, the A means less than 3.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yes.
So that's why I said it goes 1, 2A, 2, 3A, 3. So it's ass backwards, right?
Okay.
From what you would think, right? So the A means less than in the armor world. So
Okay.
So you said 3s won't stop 5.56 technically.
it won't stop
but
all 5.56. No,
I
they're
see.
not rated for it.
Okay.
Now, will it stop it? I don't know. And so, nobody shot enough of these things. And so, if you had a level 3 standalone plate, but you also had it on top of 3A armor, is it going to stop 5.56? I don't know. I looked for some YouTube videos on the subject and nobody's done it. Like people have shot plates into ballistic, with ballistic gelatin behind the plates to show that a round would still penetrate and kill you, but they didn't put soft armor behind it to show whether the soft armor would have stopped those fragments or not. So it's an imperfect thing, is my point there. So, but any other questions on the basics of that? And I can't really get into plates in this talk. I really want to talk about the actual carriers and how we wear our stuff and things like that. There's so many plate options that it's impossible to keep up on. And there's really, I will give you here's the quick and dirty. The cheapest thing you can buy is AR 500 steel. It's heavy and thin, and it works. Then the next thing is you're going to get some sort of a SAPI plate. That's the military plate. And depending on whether you get 3 or 4, you're talking 5 to 7 pounds or somewhere in that area. And those are not bad. You can probably pick those up for $400 for a set. Maybe a little bit more, depending on, how heavy they are. And then you're going to get the really high speed stuff. You're going to get stuff from Velocity Systems, Cry, somebody like that. And you're starting talking $1,000 a plate. And so those are your kind of options. Is you have $150 for a set of steel, maybe $400 to $600 for some sort of SAPI plate. And then it starts costing you $100 an ounce to, every ounce you lose. So somebody is not muted and they have kids in the background. So just so you know.
I just forgot to talk to my wife.
All right.
Greg, how concerned are you with the ability to stop the A1 green tip, the 855A1?
Yeah, obviously, it's better than not to be able to stop it. But, so let's talk about that. I am going to actually suggest you don't even worry about plates. Like, that's the last thing that you should consider is a plate. Why do I say that?
Most threats are handguns?
Yeah. Who's coming to your house? What are they bringing? Like at a 99% rate, what weapon is the bad guy using? He's using a handgun. The rifle threat is the least important threat, in my opinion. And it's the last money I would spend. And I don't know that I would spend it. My wife's vest that we're gonna assemble a vest tonight. I actually have hers here already put together, but without gear on it. I'm not putting any plates in hers. It's just gonna be soft armor, 3A armor. It'll stop all shotguns and all pistols, and good enough. I was looking at some level 3 plates that are pretty inexpensive and really light that I might put in it, but they won't stop 5.56. They might stop it with the soft armor behind. I don't know because I haven't shot them and nobody else has. But I'm really unconcerned about plates. I don't know. That doesn't really answer your question, except to say that I wouldn't worry about plates. I would worry about your soft armor and getting your rig and getting used to it. And then decide based on your budget and whether you feel like you're in good enough shape to have plates in your gear, then put plates in it. Of course, for home defense, you shouldn't be exercising a lot in your gear in a gunfight. And it shouldn't be that difficult from a home defense situation. You're not a Navy SEAL. You're not in Ranger Battalion going on some raid where you have to move you know, a kilometer or two before you get in a gunfight. You know, you're gonna move like 20 feet down your hall, right? And so honestly, I am gonna look more like a tank than the high-speed, lightweight Navy SEAL little plate carrier thing. I'd rather have a collar. I'd rather have shoulders. I'd rather have a groin piece. I want maximum square inches of pistol-proof armor. Is everybody good on that? Like, kind of my intent with that?
Yep. Thank you.
Right. So maximum pistol proof, and then consider plates based on your budget. And once again, there's only 3 options: heavy for super cheap, medium weight, which is still heavy for medium dollars, and then, you know, as much as you want to spend. If you want to spend $2,000 on plates, you can get some really high speed, lightweight stuff. Okay.
Hey Greg, what's the relationship for knife protection and knives?
No. So knife vests, like correction officers wear, are a completely different weave. So this stuff is not optimized to stop a stab. Will it help? Absolutely. But it's definitely not optimized for it. And if you want stab optimized armor, which you can get, it's super stiff, right? So it's not, you can't do all this with it. So realize that. I'm not really overly concerned about that. I mean, man, if we're at stabbing distance, I hope I'm stabbing the shit out of him, not him me. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So we're going to talk about that. See this right here? That's my stabby. Nobody else should know it's a stabby. Right? And so I don't carry a knife on my gear that looks like a knife because I don't want to get stabbed with my own gear. Does that make sense? So, and if he's got a knife, I should have shot the crap out of him from a distance away, because we're really talking about big armor. We're not really talking about concealed armor today. So, questions on armor, plates. Let's finish that up. I've got some bees visiting me. I just installed 2 beehives over there, so they're a little excited right now.
Hey, Greg, question on plates.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain the difference between, you see a lot of these plates marked as standalone or non-standalone?
Yep.
And you've mentioned it yourself. What does standalone mean?
Meaning that it is rated, oh, come on, leave me alone. It's rated as that level without soft armor behind it. And if it is not rated as a standalone plate, it's rated at that level when you're wearing soft armor behind it. Does that make sense? That like that plate will probably, if it's rated not standalone, there's the potential for fragmentation to come out the back of the plate that would need to be captured by your soft vest.
Are non-standalone armors typically lighter?
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is that if you have a standalone plate, you're going to have to add more layers and make it heavier duty to be able to make up for the fact that you didn't have this 2 pounds of soft armor behind it, right? Did I answer that?
Yep, absolutely. Thanks.
Okay. So I talked to you guys about the Cirrus vest. And so this is a Cirrus Maritime Combat Integrated Release System, Maritime, made by Eagle Industries. This is a land version, okay? So they close up differently, and from a military perspective, I really like the Maritime version, but now, after telling you guys to get the Maritime, this is not a bad civilian rig either, just because once I started looking at how much gear you actually carry as a private citizen, this is a really good rig too. The problem is in the military, when I want to carry a lot of magazines, is I don't have continuous panel across this front. I only have this piece here, which just has enough room for 2 mags, and then I would have to have different things. So I couldn't like have a triple or a quad panel. I'd have to have individual pouches, maybe a 2 pouch here, but I couldn't get a 3 because then I wouldn't be able to lift this up to undo my Velcro and stuff like that. But as a private citizen rig, it's not a bad idea. I'm going to put this one together. I'm going to show you how I'm going to put it together for my wife in a little bit. So the Cirrus rig is a great rig.
Greg, can you spell that? What?
C-I-R-A-S. So state-of-the-art 15 years ago. Designed because of a specific helicopter accident that Marine Force Recon went through. where one of the helicopters fell off the side of one of their landing craft and everybody plummeted to the bottom of the ocean. And one of the things they theorize is that they couldn't get out of their armor. And so they made this releasable armor system. I'm gonna have to leave the camera for one small second. Apologize. Okay. There's something going on. Somebody's having something in the background. Okay. So this Eagle Cirrus system uses the Balax cut armor. Okay. BALSC. Right? Is that right? Or is it CS? And that's a specific pattern of cut that fits in the carrier. And so you need to know what carrier you're going to get and what armor you're going to put in it. Otherwise, you'll make some mistakes. And so the military is standardized on this Balax cut armor. So it's a really good way to go because there's just tons of panels available. And I sent you guys those links on eBay where this guy's selling these used panels for like $120 a set, which is great. They don't really wear out. Kevlar 129, the advantage of Kevlar 129 is as long as it's in a cover and it hasn't gotten, petroleum products in it, and it hasn't gotten UV rays, which it's not going to get when it's in this cover, it really doesn't degrade. Yet the government puts them on a 5-year expiration date. And so all this stuff becomes available at 5 years, and you can buy it for really inexpensive. So if you're trying to save money, Balax cut is the way to go because all the vests are standardized on it. Everybody good on that? Okay. Do we want to put together a Cirrus rig?
I have a question on the soft armor. Does that actually mount to the plate carrier or the
It's
chest rig?
inside the carrier. So the armor is inside this carrier, right? These are called carriers, and
Right.
the armor is in here. I'm going to assemble one for you.
Okay.
There's the armor, right? And if you had plates, there's a pouch to put plates in front of that soft armor. So the Cirrus rig is an armor carrier. So you're going to buy an armor carrier and you're going to buy armor to go in it.
So it's not like a vest and then the plate carrier goes over it.
No, we're not wearing a vest and like some kind of load bearing equipment. It's all one system.
Okay.
Okay. You could wear just a vest and wear a load bearing system. You're going to end up with more material in a way, and because stuff shifts around. It's got some versatility to do that, but pretty much everybody has settled into using a carrier system. And so this is a Cirrus, and it's a releasable system, so it's a little complicated. I sent you guys a link to a Blackhawk Strike rig, and that is non-releasable. So it's basically this system without the releasability. So what's going to happen here is these are the shoulder straps. These are going to thread through. You're going to have a cummerbund system, which is elastic and Velcro. And that's so that under the rig, basically, you're putting on your warehouseman belt. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
So that helps you carry that load. It helps pull your gut in, keep your back, nice and secure. So you're going to have this system, and it is going to be adjustable. And you're going to then have the side panels there. So what's going to happen then is you're gonna throw it over your head. I leave my right side secured all the time, and the left side open. So I'm just gonna put my right arm through it, right? Because my pistol's over here and stuff like that, and I don't want to be undoing that because it's heavy and it flops. So I put my right arm and head through, and then you're just gonna do the cummerbund if you had time, right? If you had time, you'd reach under and you'd do your cummerbund up, and then you would pull your flap over and secure it. Now you're in your armor. Now, if you just threw it on and went, it would work. It would have a hole over here, right? And stuff would be flopping a little bit, but not a big deal. But all this is rigged like a parachute. Of course, most of you don't know parachutes, but it's just going to have, this, this little guy sticking through.
Hey,
So
Greg, you may want to tilt the camera down a bit.
Yeah, I will in a second once we're really doing it. But you're going to have this little piece of thread. It's going to go through all of these. Does that make sense? Like this is going to be attached to the vest, and you're going to have all these grommets, and you're just going to put them all through, and then the last thing you do is you have this cable release system that's running through, and that's going to go through. And so now you can see what would happen is when I pull on the cable, pop, 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 all these come off. So that is the integrated release system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like dumping your weight pouches on a BC.
Yeah, BC's use this, exactly. In scuba, you're going to use the same thing. This cable is no different than the cutaway cable on your free fall parachute. This is the closing tie on a parachute. That we just took existing technology and we just adopted it to the vest system. Now, what that means is you have, you've got an extra half a pound of nylon and grommets and stuff like that. And maybe a little bit extra bulk because it's a releasable system. It's not a big deal. You don't need a releasable system. It's just that these Cirrus rigs are not the coolest rigs anymore. Everybody's moving on to different rigs, and you can buy these carriers for $100, and this carrier would have cost you $600 10 years ago.
So that closing tie there, is that a wear item? Like, do I need to
No,
replace it once
because
a
you're
year?
never going to use it. It's just going to sit there for its entire life like this.
Okay.
Does that make sense? It doesn't move. Nothing moves. You just set it, and it's just going to sit there until the day you go like that, and it all pops loose. So I've never used the release system on a vest. The only time anybody uses the release system on their vest is when they pull their buddy's release system to fuck him. So he has to rebuild his shit. So, which you shouldn't do that really very often. So
I was just wondering whether there's any kind of chafing on that release system.
It sits there forever. This is probably Kevlar or something like that. It's one of those, kind of cool materials that basically can't wear. Going back to that, don't buy any vests that aren't Kevlar, any soft armor. If it's not Kevlar 129, I don't want to own it because up until now, none of that stuff has lasted. All of it has gone bad before its expiration date. All of it has been negatively affected by water, negatively affected by chemicals, just sweat, right? And so there's all these different plastics and various things they've tried. None of it has actually worked. So stick with Kevlar 129. Okay. So questions on the Balex cut, an armor carrier, armor in it. I'm going to assemble this in a second, and then we're going to put the armor in it, and then we're going to talk about putting pouches on them and where we put things. But are there any questions up to this point? It's time to ask them. All right, so I'm going to readjust the camera down, and for the next 5 or 10 minutes, you won't be able to see my face, but you'll just be able to look at the vest, and I'm just going to show you how I put it together. Oh, where do I gotta go? I just dropped something. All right, so that was a little too tilted. How about right? Let's try this. Okay, so I've got these shoulder straps. And so what I'm going to do with these shoulder straps is run them down. And it's going to be a little tight right here when it goes through this elastic. But it's going to go through the shoulder area. And then there's a set of elastic that you got to get it to go in also.
Okay.
Say again?
Oh, never mind.
Oh, somebody talking to their cat? I heard something. And once again, feel free to just ask questions at any point. I'm just going to reach up in here to help myself pull it down if I can get a hold of it. And I know this is black and it's not easy to see, but that's just the way it goes. I guess if I was really cool, I would do multicolored vest assembly so you could see every part. Then I'd have to take it all apart and do it again because I would not be able to stand the fact that it wasn't all the same color.
Greg, any reason for the color choice?
So, yeah, what do you want? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do? I have multicam vests. My issue vest back when I was in was Coyote Brown. I love multicam. I think it's great. I don't know. I felt like I asked my wife. I'm like, of course, she doesn't really care about having a vest, but I'm going to buy her one anyway. And I asked her, well, what color do you want? And so she picked black. So I said, okay, you want a black vest? That's fine. And honestly, you know, in a civilian environment, you got to ask yourself when the cops show up, who do you want to look like? And I don't want to look. I don't necessarily want to look like a militia wannabe guy. And so maybe black is a good idea. And I'm going to buy pouches for her. She's a nurse. And I'm actually going to buy the big Velcro deals that say nurse and put it on it. And I would almost suggest that what people do. So what I did here is you can see these are now down here because this is where that white tab is going to go. It's going to come right through this hole. So I'm just laying these here right now. It's not a big deal. So having this across the chest that says like medic front and rear, or like I'm gonna give her a nurse one, just because it'd be funny. But honestly, having a big one that said homeowner, that would be kind of cool, right? Because like bad guys just aren't gonna be wearing this stuff, and it's definitely not gonna say medic or something like that across the top. So I don't know. I don't know about what color to pick. I love multicam, but it is militaristic. I decided I want to build myself one black vest just because, I can't really say. Realize that, let me point this up and just talk for a second. So a couple guys were talking about they don't care about looking cool in some of the Facebook discussion. And I would challenge you that actually you do want to look cool because people treat you differently. The bad guy is not necessarily going to treat you differently. The event should be so fast and furious with him that it doesn't really matter, we hope. But if you then have to interact with the police, or if, let's say, we have some kind of true crisis, shit hits the fan, and next thing you know, we've got a neighborhood defense force, you don't want to show up looking like Joe Dirtbag, right? You want to show up like looking like you got your shit together, but also probably not wanting to look like a wannabe, right? So you're going to have to make a choice. I would have all my gear match. Like I wouldn't have a green pouch and a tan pouch and all that stuff on a black vest. I would color match everything at a minimum and try to look organized. I used to teach a group of people called the combat cameramen. And I've done Army and Air Force combat cameramen. And they're basically the journalists for the military that go into combat with units. And before I taught them, they wouldn't be allowed on any missions. No special operations people, especially, but even normal units wouldn't let them leave the wire because they looked like idiots. Like they didn't wear their gear right. They just didn't look cool. And we dressed them properly. That's the first thing. We went in there and like put their pouches in the right places and got them wearing their shit correctly and taught them how to hold their guns correctly. We did teach them how to fight, right? But the big deal is if you all of a sudden have your mags organized like they're supposed to be and your shit is all where a guy that knows what he's doing would put his shit and you hold your gun correctly, guess what everybody assumes? They know what the hell you're doing, right? And now these guys got invited everywhere, right? And so I would say the same thing about this. Sorry about this. I'm going to have to lock my dog up. In the house. In the house. Now. He's 1 year old and he wants to eat everything. And so he was just eating a magazine pouch. So you do want to look cool in a way. At least you want to look like you know what you're doing. So my point in saying all that is if you're going to get a vest carrier, get the same color pouches. So you have to know what's available, right? Black is relatively available. Multicam, hugely available. This coyote type stuff, pretty available. Ranger green, which is what most guys use nowadays because the Ranger Regiment originally didn't want to do the same color that everybody else was wearing. And so they did this kind of muted green color. And now they pretty much wear all multicam now. But there's just not that many pouches available for it. So if you got a Ranger green carrier and you've got standard green pouches or something like that, it all kind of mismatches and doesn't look as cool. So I would pick black, tan, or multicam probably, and not Ranger green. Even though, we live in a green environment. Multicam is an amazing camouflage pattern. It works really good in arid environments in Western Washington, all that stuff. And of course, black is great. The Optimum, too bad they don't make gray. Gray would be pretty cool. It would work really good at night and stuff like that. So I don't know. That was a long-winded version of colors. I don't have a perfect answer. of what you should pick. All right, so these panels here, this is your cummerbund. They go underneath this elastic here, okay? And so obviously we have to put it on so that when it wraps around, like, you know, the right sides find each other, correct? Okay, and I want the side that's, because these have Velcro on both sides. So what part do I want to set against my belly?
Loop.
The soft stuff, right? Not this hard stuff. So I'm going to organize this so that it sets against my belly. It'd be great, obviously, if it was organized so that, you know, it didn't have Velcro on both sides, because then you wouldn't have to have anything rubbing your belly. But then that would mean you'd always have to put it on the same way. Okay, so this way, you don't always have to put it on the same way. So I'm going to put this through. Now, I know what size I am already because I've put these together before. But when you first start, you're not going to know, and you're just going to have to guess. And what I would do is, you have 8 of these. I would just pick, you know, the third tightest or the third, you know, 3 from the loose or whatever, you know, pick one here in the middle and do all of them on that. So I'd count 4 in on every one and start there. Then you're just going to put it on and see whether the shoulders fit, see whether the belly fits, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Do the carriers come in sizes also?
Yes. Yes, they do. And they are sized, and the panels are sized. So you need all of that properly sized. Mind myself.
I understand the shoulder straps and the first pieces you put in as a cummerbund, but what are you putting in now?
These are the actual side. This is the actual side panels. This
Oh,
holds
okay.
your 2 panels together. So you
Okay.
have overlapping panels, and your front panel is wider than your rear panel, and it goes around your waist farther. And these hold all that in. So the cummerbund, you know, is putting weight on your belly, right? And then these are actually closing the vest. Okay. So cummerbund is for your warehouse belt. This is the vest outside of that. Okay. Somebody else had a question they asked that I missed. Somebody said something. Sizes. Yes. So you have a carrier size, you have a soft armor size, and you have a plate size, and you should match all those. And the size that you should get is the t-shirt you wear that isn't loosey-goosey. Like whatever size t-shirt you wear that fits properly is probably your size. And if you're in between, generally pick the smaller size, not the larger size. So like medium t-shirts can be slightly tight on me. Large t-shirts will be definitely loose. I used to wear a lot of large t-shirts just because you could conceal your gun easier, stuff like that. But medium is truly my size t-shirt, and medium is my size carrier. I am 5'10", 185, and I'm in the middle of a medium. I could be 6 foot, 195, maybe even 200 pounds and still wear a medium. So I would order your t-shirt size generally. If you're in between, size down. And the other thing you could do is Google this and just go on the forums, because there'll be lots of guys saying, I'm this size, I wear this carrier, right? And so you can get an idea. You can find like your size. The larges, there's guys I think I read online like 6'3", 240 that wear larges. They don't wear extra larges, right? So yeah, you just have to, you know, figure out. I wear a 42 regular jacket. Like I said, 5'10", 185. And I wear a medium Cirrus. A large Cirrus is pretty big on me. I'm kind of swimming in it a little bit. I can wear it. It's going to have overlap, but I'm not as mobile, harder to shoulder the gun, things like that.
Greg, do you want to err on the side of caution? Because looking at you, I can't imagine you fit into a medium t-shirt.
Yeah, I wear medium t-shirts. Yeah. No, I do. Like if I wear a t-shirt that actually fits correctly, if I actually want to look good, I wear a medium t-shirt. So if I wear a large t-shirt, it's a little baggy. Now, most of us are used to, you know, I'm from Seattle. We wear clothes that don't fit. So most of us aren't used to wearing things that actually, you know, are sized to actually look correct. So we think we're a size bigger than we are. But generally err downward in size and you'll be way more mobile and you'll be happy with the way it fits, especially the way it fits around your chest and where your gun's going to go.
For
So-
the bigger guys, Greg, I'm 6'2" and 235, and I wear a large.
Yep.
I run it on the outer limits of the adjustment.
Of the Cirrus, you wear a large on the outer limits?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it fits nice and snug. It gives me plenty of room for the pouch, and I don't have a whole lot of extra stuff to deal with, so it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah. So like I said, I've read that guys up to 240 pounds wear a large. And yeah, you're going to be at the upper limit, but that's probably better. You're probably more mobile. Your vest, your armor probably still meets on the sides or comes darn close to meeting. Whereas if I was wearing a large, like right now, my armor overlaps a little and pinches me a little bit. And so if I was wearing a large, I'd have like 4 or 5 inches of overlap on the sides. It'd be completely wasted. And then also when I sat down, so one thing we learned as we started driving in vehicles, because, you know, before 20 years ago, we didn't really ride in vehicles very much. We didn't even wear armor very much. But once we got armor on and got in vehicles, we found out the vests were too long. And if that vest is sitting there on your thighs for 8 or 12 hours, guess how uncomfortable that is, right? So you really need your vest at your belly button. Right? You think you want more coverage. You know, I like this area down here. I don't want it shot, but I need to use a separate panel for that. And I need to keep my vest at about my belly button or so. Otherwise, it's going to be impinging on my thighs, and it's going to be very uncomfortable in the long run. Does that answer that about size?
So on the other side of the size equation, my wife is 5'2" and 105.
Yep.
So I'm looking.
She's got to be an extra small, and she'd probably be swimming in it.
Yeah, does extra small even exist?
I have seen some stuff advertised as extra small, but it might be advertised as small, extra small. There might not be an actual extra small. That might be the best you can do.
Got it.
So this little pin, I don't even know what this black part is. Like, I probably should have looked up some official Eagle video on it. But I do know that I want this metal grommet holding this in. Does that make sense? Like, this metal grommet is going to be what goes up against the metal grommet when I go in here and get this hole. So what's going on here is there's all this stuff that normally there'd be a ballistic plate here, and this is the ballistic plate holder, and this the same with this elastic. This is the little pocket this grommet's going to go through. See that? And you probably can't see it great, but there's a little grommet hole in there. And all I'm going to do, and you can go in from either direction, I'm just going to go feed that through and see if I can grab it on the other side here, wherever I am. Oh, yeah, wrong direction. I'm around this side of the vest. I'm going to try to feed that through and get a hold of it. Obviously, if I had a pen or something, I could probably punch that through a little easier, but I'll get it through here in a second.
You need a crochet hook.
Yeah, something to grab it and push it through there. I might have to push it through with something. You can ask questions while I'm doing this. I can talk and move my hands at the same time. Nothing? You guys are like satisfying you completely. There we go. There we go. Got it.
I can imagine how long it takes people to figure this out if they haven't had instruction like you do.
Yeah, well, you know, you just kind of, luckily, the first time I ever did it, I'd already played with parachutes and scuba gear, right? So it just wasn't that big of a deal. You're just like, oh, okay, I think I can figure this out. And you probably do it wrong a few times, and then in doing it wrong, what do? You figure out how not to do it wrong again. So I'm going to do the cummerbund on both sides first, and I'm going to do it on the fourth one in, even though I know it's not the right one for me. I'm just going to start there. I'm going to do the vest waist here on the fourth one in. Like I said, it's going to be that's going to be too big, slightly too big for me. Oh, and of course I screwed up. I didn't put my cable through first. I have nothing to hold it here. I'll put a zip tie through it. I should have put my cable through first, so I'd have something to actually secure it with, but that's okay. I'll just put this through. It won't be able to pop out. So, can everybody see that? So that eventually is going to get covered up with this, but I have to put my cable system through. So where did I see where I hid my cable, or if my dog stole it? Cable, where'd you go? It should be sitting right here. Oh. Huh. That is strange. Don't make me disassemble another vest just so I can have a cable. There it is. Okay. So routing of the cable. It can go over one shoulder or the other. In the maritime version, your pole release is here. So you can put this either way. Which side are we going to put it through? Probably non-shooting shoulder, correct?
Should.
So all I'm going to do is just come over here, go underneath this piece of elastic right here, go up through this. There's a tube for it. And it's going to be kind of a pain in the ass because the tube's pretty tight, and you got to make that corner. If I would have done this before I assembled it, it would have been easier because I would have been putting it down a straight shot. But it'll still go. It's a steel cable that is just nylon coated, so I can force it. It just would have been easier if I didn't have to, like I said, turn that corner. So remember to do that before you put your shoulder strap through while it's still flat, and it'll be a little simpler for you. Good thing you can't see my face right now because I'm clenching my jaw like I always do when I'm frustrated. There we go. And then once I get it down here, I can just yank it through. Then I'm just going to put it through there. It goes in quite a bit so you don't accidentally deploy this thing. You just get that zip tie out of there, set that there, put all this crap inside there, close the pocket, snap it, boom, done. Then on this side, you just have this system here where you can put this in here and see how this is going to be sitting up. That's if you wanted to be able to deploy it. If I never wanted to deploy it, right? I don't plan on being in a burning armored vehicle where I have to get pulled through a hatch while unconscious by my buddy. And I don't plan on sliding off the side of a ship inside of a helicopter. So I don't want this deployed. So I'm just going to make it harder to deploy. So there's no way it can actually get on something. The proper thing to do would be this. And so you do still have this little safety strap. So this can't just get pulled too easy. But, you have to work at it a little bit. But it's not going to, I'm just going to say, okay, let's not have this happen at all. Unless I really, really, really want it. Okay, so now I've got my cummerbund, right? I've got my outer piece, right? And the outer piece actually doesn't go like that. It goes like this. So I'm going to do up this side. Excuse me, the other side. No, I do this side. So I got my right side is basically going to be my permanently attached side, and my left side is the one that I will get in and out of. Okay, and I put on one of the cummerbund pieces wrong. So it's okay because I know I'm gonna have to readjust them anyway, but I didn't do my Velcro correct. Somehow in all that talking, I did it backwards. So it doesn't have armor in it though. And so we're gonna put the armor in because we really can't size it on us unless we have the armor in. So we have front and rear panels, and they're pretty easy to tell apart. You just set them and say, yep, that's the front, right? Whereas if I put this one on there, you can see it's wrong. It's too tall. It's not wide enough. This is the back panel. Sometimes they'll say this side out and stuff like that. It just doesn't. I don't know how it could possibly matter. It's just all Kevlar. They put different Kevlar on the inside or the outside. This is just a big pocket. It's truly this simple. It's just a big Velcro pocket. You just shove this all up in there. And Velcro it closed. Okay, so the front armor is in. Rear armor. Oh. Hold on. Technical difficulties. Probably couldn't even hear me. Can you hear me? You probably hear me, but you can't see anything. Just a second.
Audio's good.
Yep. Take a little tumble. Can you see video at all?
Not right now.
No?
Negative.
Okay, give me a second. Had a little trauma. All my fault. Okay, let's see if we can get the video to work. Where's the cameras? Something happened. Hey, there we go. Back in business. Okay. All right. So I'm just pushing the armor in is all that's happening. So try to do that without knocking the camera over and unplugging it again. Can everybody really see what's going on overall?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Obviously, I have not done this before, and I'm trying to sit in decent spots where, you know, the lighting is good and things like that. But since I haven't done this before, I know that it's going to be imperfect, and so please give me feedback.
Is there a separate pocket if you were to add plates to that?
Yes. So inside of this, absolutely. See if I can show it to you decently. So here is the inside of the armor carrier. This is the outside of the armor carrier. This is the soft armor. And can you see this in here?
It's just see black.
You can barely see it. It's just...
I might suggest in the future for this kind of demo, if you had a little pen light or a little handheld flashlight.
Yeah, we're not use the black.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a pocket here with a big piece of Velcro that goes around the bottom.
Okay.
And you just slide the plate right up in it and slap the Velcro around it. It's that easy. Yeah, I probably should not have used the black one. Would have been, because it would have been black armor on like a multicam rig and probably would have been way easier. But that is now basically assembled, and now all I would do is size it. So I'm going to point the camera up, and I'm going to put it on and talk about sizing. Okay. All right. Getting a little glare. So once again, I put my right arm through, and what's going to happen here is I can reach under, and of course I've done the cummerbund wrong, so it's not going to stick. So I'm going to have to not worry about that. And I'm going to realize but I am going to feel the sizing. And I'm going to say, okay, I should actually loosen my cummerbund by 1 notch. The cummerbund is actually a little too tight. So I obviously, my belly chest ratio is not optimized. So, because we're going to find out that the vest is too loose. The vest, see, is kind of loose on me. And so I'm going to tighten the vest by 1, and I'm going to loosen the cummerbund by 1. Now, I don't have plates in this, and so this might be the exact right size once I put those plates in, but I don't, because they're going to take up more room. But you know, I don't know. And the shoulders, you know, the basic thing to see is, are there big gaps here or not? And I think that's about right for the shoulders. I'd like my vest to be pretty high, and I want it to go about to my belly button. So I want it to be up here. If I loosen these too much to try to move it down, you'll know if it's too big because it'll start to do this and have these big gaps up here.
Yeah.
Okay. So I could maybe bring it up by 1, but honestly, my belly button is just a 1/2 inch up right there, and this does almost come. It's like a 1/2 inch off of my sternal notch. And so probably it'd be perfect. So maybe I will bring it up by 1, because then it'll go right from my sternal notch to my belly button, which is probably about perfect. The lower it is, the easier it is to shoulder your rifle and stuff because you have less crap in the way. But man, this stuff right behind my sternal notch is really important, and I want armor there. So I want this up kind of high. So I think I'm going to raise it 1. I'm going to loosen the cummerbund by 1, and I'm going to tighten the sides by 1. Okay? Except I don't want to waste your time doing that. We're going to move on and talk about pouches and stuff. Okay?
Greg, is that thing under your chin, is that that quick release?
Yeah, that's the cutaway. Yep.
Okay. For
Yep.
some reason I couldn't understand it when you were doing it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So this normally would set like that, right? And so it's a center point cutaway so that either hand or a guy reaching down to pull me out of an armored vehicle can, pull that really easily. Then he can get a hold of me and pull me out, stuff like that, right? So that's the cutaway. And if I yank that and pull full extension, because if you saw that cable had about that much through it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not set up to just like, touch this and your vest explodes. It really is a full pull before everything comes off. Questions? And if you got the Blackhawk Strike or some other Balex carrier, it wouldn't even have this right here. It would just all, go on whatever Velcro way it goes on. They have different ways they go on. So, okay, how long have we been talking? Almost an hour. Wow. So why don't we take a 5-minute break, speed break, 5 minutes or less, come back, and then I'm going to put on armor that has pouches and stuff on it, talk about where I place stuff. We'll put some pouches on a vest. Then we'll talk about chest rigs and things like that and helmets and et cetera, or take whatever questions. So if you have any questions, ask them now about what we've already talked about. Anything about what we've already talked about? And I see somebody joined late. Sorry I missed you, Amber, and I will unmute you because for some reason everybody's muted. You didn't know that, but late joiners, I have to unmute you for some reason, even though I did not click mute on anyone. So, questions before we take a quick break?
I came in late. Did you cover any particular, I'm looking at your rig and thinking about, female anatomy and, needing a smaller waist and wider chest.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of options, not when you're talking about the rigs like this. You can get soft body armor that's cut for female anatomy, but it's really rare because, obviously, 5% of cops or something are female, so you're just not going to see much out there. And in the military, they don't give the women anything different. They get the same vests, and you just have to adjust it differently. So you're just gonna have to play with the adjustments until you get it to fit halfway decent. Yeah, there's no good answer for that. But otherwise, everybody else go get a drink, go to the bathroom, etc., and come back in just a minute. I don't need to take a break. I'm actually good. So if you have more questions, I can answer them now.
Yeah, I have a quick question. I have a plate carrier that doesn't accept soft armor.
Yep.
Should I look at one that does both?
Yeah, I would. I would get something that has max coverage. So these Balex cut vests, probably if you added up the square inches of coverage, are 2.5 times the square inches of your plate. Maybe 3 times the square inches of your plate. And
yeah,
so,
I only have 10 by 13 plate.
Yeah, and so then, so you got, 130 square inches, right? And
Yeah.
so imagine if you had 250 or 300 square inches of soft armor. I think that would be the better equation because the threat is pistols, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm good forward and backward, but sides are wide open.
yeah. And most of those times, those plate carriers, unless you have standalone plates, you do want a soft backer. But honestly, I'll show you a plate carrier in a second. And my cummerbund is armored. So I do have side armor. But I still don't have the inches of coverage that I would if I had the Balex cut. No way. I probably still am only maybe 60% the square inches that I would have.
Greg, in a civilian situation, when would you use your armor? Other than,
anytime I had if I was in my bedroom and I did not feel the need to leave my bedroom in 10 seconds, I would have my armor on.
Wow.
Because I don't like getting shot.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I would do is grab my gun, or I would hopefully grab a fanny pack that has my gun in it, because that's my gun, my magazine, my flashlight, my phone, right? All that stuff, my knife is everything that I would wear goes in a fanny pack that sits on the nightstand. And I would grab that, throw it over my head. And if I felt I needed to leave the bedroom right now because there's a family member like that's life is being risked, I can hear the screaming, I would leave, you know, wearing whatever I'm wearing, which means stark ass naked probably, with that fanny pack, I would leave. If I had 10, 15 more seconds, because the threat isn't that imminent to an innocent life, I would reach under the bed, pull my arm out, put my arm on.
Yeah.
And then if I had about 15 more seconds, I'd put my helmet on, because I don't want to get shot. So, you know, combat power is a combination of maneuver, protection, and firepower, right? And so, so if you think about like an M1 Abrams tank, right? Incredible protection, right? It's awesome armor. It's super maneuverable, has a giant gun on it, right? Think of a Cobra gunship. You know, it doesn't have the hugest amount of armor, but it makes up for its lack of armor in what?
Maneuverability.
Maneuverability, right? So, like, you know, we need to have this balance. If we want true combat power as an individual, we want firepower, we want maneuver, we want protection. Now, we could have hard points in our house where we have protection, or we can be wearing protection, right? And so I'm a big believer in putting armor on if you have any kind of time at all. I don't walk around wearing armor, but if I knew I was going to be in a fight, I would put on my armor, sling my rifle, and put on my helmet. So.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So you keep one rig under your bed?
Yeah, I would just slide it right under the bed. Yeah.
Where do you keep the other ones?
Well, I don't really. I mean, I have vests for fun. I have shit everywhere. So no, I keep it under my bed or keep it in a deployment bag so I could, you know, I was wondering how extreme this current situation would get. And so I set up my kit bag, reverse packed. So, you know, the armor's on top because it's the first thing that's going to go on, working your way down to your helmet. What most people do is they don't reverse pack things. And so then you got your helmet, but once you put your helmet on, you can't put your armor on because your head's too damn big to fit through the hole. So you reverse pack your stuff. And so I have a kit bag, reverse packed, that has my rifle in it, my armor, my helmet, etc. And that's open in my bedroom. And then I can just zip that close and walk to my car and stick it in my back seat and drive, come home, take it out of my car, put it back in my bedroom. And so that's what I've been doing recently, though I think that is more than I need to do. This current situation has not gotten that extreme. It felt a little uneasy about a month ago when I wasn't quite sure how things were going to go. I don't know if that answers that, but it could be under your bed. It could be in a bag. It could be at your gun safe. If you have a gun safe that is in your bedroom or in a closet in your bedroom, you could have it all there. So basically you displaced your gun safe. My bedroom's not set up like this anymore, but it used to be where my gun safe door would be open. And that's my first hard point is I get up out of bed, I go to the gun safe, standing behind the gun safe and the gun safe door. I now am behind a piece of steel. Now I can get my rifle out, put my armor on, put my helmet on, etc. So, you know, think about some options so that you can put stuff on quickly and easily. And it's all safe and secure as you feel it needs to be. So that'd be my answer. I don't know if that's a good answer or not. I don't have a specific thing because it's, you know, more principle based. How you're going to do it is going to be based on your circumstances. So think about reverse packing. Think about having things always packed the same way. The same side of the vest is always open, right? It's set up so you grab the vest and throw it on. Then your rifle goes over the top. Then your helmet goes on, or your vest goes on, your helmet goes on, your rifle goes on. It's just that I tend to go vest, rifle, helmet because if I ran out of time, I would skip the helmet. I wouldn't want to skip the rifle, right? So I try to have it set up kind of time sequenced. I'm actually thinking about setting up, I've always thought the dumbest thing in the world are those zipper contraptions on boots. You know what I'm talking about? Anybody that's been in the military just
hates those things.
Yeah, you look at those things and you're like, that's the
Air Force has those.
Yes, that's the dumbest thing ever, right? You're a total loser if you have those on your boots. Now I'm actually thinking about setting up a set of boots that have those on them because it'd be kind of nice to have boots on instantly, right? And I actually bought some coveralls for farming, and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to throw a set of coveralls and boots in my deployment bag so that when I jump out in the middle of the night, I step into my boots, or I slip into my coverall, step into my boots, throw my armor on, throw my, rifle on, throw my helmet on. It would add, I don't know, 10 seconds to the entire equation, and then I'd be clothed, which is more convenient than not being clothed. So
Sure feel better that way than going down, coming out of your bedroom and going down your stairways in your underwear.
Well, I wouldn't even have that on. So
yeah, most nights that's true.
But honestly, that brings up a point. I know 3 people that have had to use their gun in their home, and they all did it stark-ass naked, and no one ever noticed they were naked. So I think that's a little bit of a fallacy that people actually worry about that in real life. Nobody that I know has ever noticed they're naked until the cops get there. So seriously, like as the cops arrive, as they either see the lights through their window or the cops are actually knocking on the door, they go, "Oh shit, I'm naked. Oh, that's embarrassing." Right? They never noticed it during the fight because it was the innocent human life was too important, right? It's just too important to worry about that shit. I think that you're just really not going to notice until the stress level reduces and there's witnesses. So the great thing about that fanny pack is you can put it on, and then you're like, "Hey," and they're like, "Hey, naked dude, I bet you're the homeowner."
Those coveralls look like those heavy duty, what do they call them? Workman's ones.
I just have like these Dickies ones. I bought like these really lightweight ones. The reason I bought them is so that when I show up to farm, like I hung them in the back of my truck, so that when I show up and I am not dressed correctly, I can slide those on, put my muck boots on, go do what I need to do, come back, take them off, leave them there, go off without being covered with mud. So they're pretty lightweight. They're like $20 or $30, Dickies coveralls. And so now I have to decide, because I got gray ones for the farm, and I'm like, is gray a cool enough color, right? So now I have to like color match my multicam and decide what color coveralls to have on. So, but I'm just thinking about that. I haven't played with that much, but I think I'm going to set up a set of those boots with those zippers and set up the coveralls, and I'm going to time myself how easy it is to actually get fully dressed as opposed to partially dressed. I don't have kids, so I don't have, right, me and my wife, if something happens, if I'm in the bedroom, almost for sure she's in the bedroom. We're not separated in the house. And so, do I really have a rush to leave my bedroom, or do I have 30 seconds? Probably have 30 seconds. Okay, let's fire it back up. So here is a set of gear. And so can everybody see this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about what I can't see my screen to see if you guys can like see all of it or not. Is it pointed down far enough, or point it down more?
Down a little.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's better.
So this has more stuff on it than almost anybody else is going to put on it. You don't need this much stuff. You could go with a simpler rig, and I'm going to explain what would be simpler. And I'm probably going to do my black rig the simpler way. So here's what I have going on. 3 rifle mags, too much. 2 rifle mags.
Greg, there's quite a bit of flare in the camera. Yeah, if you can tilt it to the...
Not positive I can do much about that. Hold on a second. I could move everything, or I'll try moving this. Let me see if this helps. If not, I'll have to move everything.
Yep, that did it.
That did it?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect now.
Okay. All right. That might last for a little bit. Okay. I can actually turn this. Boom. Now we're good to go. Okay. So 3 mags is probably more than you'll ever need. So my rifle has a ready mag on it, so I already have 2 magazines on my rifle. So if I have 5 magazines, I have more ammo than guys jumped into Normandy with. So we over ammo ourselves. There is just no way that you could find a group of motivated bad guys, motivated enough to come at 150 rounds of 5.56 in a civilian setting. Does that make sense? Like, you just don't need that much ammo. Even if I only had 1 mag on my gun and 2 mags on my vest, 90 rounds, you know, it's just a lot of ammo. So this vest could definitely be reduced to 2 rifle magazines, okay? I'm not super worried about getting at these fast. They have the tabs closed on right now. Normally, I actually just run the tabs down the side. I don't even have them over the top. These stay in there fine unless you're going to do somersaults, and even then, they're not going to come out.
Single mag pouches?
What's that?
Are those single mag?
Yeah, these are single mag pouches. I don't do stacked. We just don't need that much ammo. And so I would do a 2 shingle or this 3 shingle. And I use these kangaroo pouches, meaning they have pouches on the front of the pouches. I don't like attaching a pouch to a pouch. It just gets so bulky. And so I buy the ones that are already attached. And I'll have to pull this halfway apart to tell you what company it came from. One of these is ATS and one is somebody else. There's a whole bunch of them out there. I'll show you a few different pouches that are good. Gray Ghost Gear, if you want to spend a little money. Condor has some okay pouches that are super cheap. And we'll talk about Condor and why we might buy some cheap stuff, you know, if you don't have a lot of money. I run my pistol in a single mag pouch with a Kydex liner. And so Pantel Tactical out of Renton, if you're local to Washington area, he sells these Kydex inserts. And a few people online sell them. And you can cut it and shape it to fit. The mag pouch can't be the super tight mag pouch. It's got to be one that's a little bit looser. Some of the mag pouches are so tight it won't fit. This is actually a Condor mag pouch. And I also have a Gray Ghost Gear one that's a little short that I would have to cut the Kydex down on. That works pretty good too. But this is it's a good enough holster for a Glock. The Glock 17 or Glock 19 fits in it pretty good. And I can decide to shape it. This one I just put together yesterday. This vest I just put together fully yesterday. And I can take a heat gun and I can shape that a little bit if I want to. But it fits pretty nice. And that's all I do. Now you could, I have a panel here. Let me find it. You can buy a panel like this, right? And you can screw any holster you want to it, any Kydex type holster you want to it if you really actually want a holster. If you're dedicated, if you say, oh, I really want a piece of plastic, I don't, this mag pouch stuff doesn't work for me, go for it. Here's my wife's pistol. She's got her Glock 43X, and this is just a cheap Condor mag pouch with a cut down Kydex insert in it. And this works really nice, right? And I did shape that with a heat gun, the Kydex a little bit. So it actually kind of clicks into the trigger guard just a little bit. Very, very simple. Nice full grip access, just like it's supposed to be, all that kind of stuff. So
that's a rifle mag pouch?
Yep, that's a 30 round AR pouch. This Condor one might be a double pouch. I'm not sure. Or it might just be a universal pouch that you can stick anything in.
And your rifle mag pouch?
These ones? Yep.
Center 3, are those for one rifle mag and one?
Yes. Yeah, they got rifle mag, pistol mag, but I don't carry that many pistol mags. I carry my flashlight.
Okay, all right, I got it.
One.
Yeah.
If I was carrying 2 rifle mag, this really should be a 2 shingle. I really don't need 3 mags. I should do a 2 shingle. I should do a pistol, 2, and my radio. Because you just don't need this much mags. In which case, I'd have 1 pistol mag, 1 flashlight. Because, like, all these guys, you ever seen guys that like have their rifle and they have like 8 pistol mags? It's like, what the fuck do you want to shoot your pistol for? You have a rifle. Like, how could you create an 80 round pistol fight when you're supposed to be in a rifle fight? I don't get that. So, but I already have the pouches, so I might as well have a mag in it. But 1 extra pistol mag, more than enough. I don't want that kangaroo thing on this. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want crap on the front of this getting in the way of my index finger and my grip and stuff like that. So I want a slick pouch there. And then otherwise, go ahead.
Is that the reason why you don't run a weapon light on your pistol or on either pistol?
I just don't see a need for a weapon light on a pistol. Like, the way I use a light is I'm using it indirectly. I'm using it off the ceiling. I'm using it off the floor. I'm wiggling it all over the place so that the bad guy is watching the bouncing ball while I'm watching my pie-line that's changing. Does that make sense at all? Like, I know this is not a low light class, but I'm using indirect lighting and I'm making that light do crazy things so that no one can tell what I'm actually doing. They don't notice the pylons changing with the light. They follow the bouncing ball all over the ceiling, all over the far walls. And I get guys submitting to me when I'm still more than a room away from them. Because I'll yell shit like, "You, in the room, I see you." And guess what that guy is in? A room. And he thinks he's seen. And that light is bouncing into his room. I can't see him, but he doesn't know that because he's being touched by the light. So I don't run pistol lights because I'm not going to do that with my pistol. I'm going to hold my pistol at the ready and I'm going to run that flashlight like that, and do crazy things with it. And once you actually start doing stuff with a weapons light on a pistol, you realize it is not easy to make it be on and off when you want it on and off and shoot your damn gun. So I don't see the need for them. And yes, I would have to have a dedicated holster that would be better for that pistol light, because that pistol light wouldn't fit down in there. I don't know if that answered the question, but it's a little beyond the scope of this to talk too much about lights. I want to get into magazines. I use Magpols in a weird way on my magazines. I don't pull on this loop. That's stupid, because then you end up like, how does this help me to be holding this like this? Like, this is kind of like your holster. The most secure your gun's ever going to be is in the rig. You don't want to draw it and then try to grip it. You want to grip it just like you're going to fight with it. I want to grip it just like I'm going to stick it in the gun. And so the Magpol gives me, this is my made up word, gription. I got my gription here, right? I can get a hold of that, and I know that when I get these fingers above that piece of rubber, right, this middle finger is above that piece of rubber and this little finger is under there, I know I'm always at the same spot on my mag to shove that in the gun. And so that allows me to drag these out of the pouches better. It also drags against the fabric a little bit and prevents these from jumping around. Also, I can color code all my stuff. So I can know that tan magazines with black covers are fighting magazines filled with hollow points, right? I can know that gray magazines with green Magpols that are actually put on the pullway 300 Whisper, as an example, right? Or blackout nowadays, you guys call it black. I have an old 300 Whisper from 20 years ago. But I color code stuff with my magazine color and my Magpol color. So I have training mags and I have fighting mags, and I'm not going to go shoot all my hollow points up accidentally or leave my vest loaded with training mags, stuff like that. So I use these Magpols to help identify things. Questions on magazines, magazine pouches?
What are those black implements on the things you call them Magpols? What's their product?
Magpol.
What does Magpol call them?
Like Magpol calls them a Magpol.
Okay.
Magpol started as a company that only made these.
Ah, I haven't seen them. This is the first time I've ever seen them.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's where they made their money, is with Magpols. And they might have called them Ranger poles to start with or something, but yeah.
If that's what it is, then I guess I got some in a box.
Okay.
When you search them online, it's confusing.
So this part is unimportant to me. I don't set them up as the big loop that goes around them. I set them up low. The only reason I have them, the only reason I don't cut them off, because really all I care about is the side rubber, because that allows me to grab it. But I leave this on there because I train on indoor ranges on concrete all the time. And it's just maybe a little safety measure that keeps that magazine from getting dented so much when it's hitting the ground, especially if it's still got ammo in it and it's heavy. So, all right. Question. So this is my center rigged, right, push dagger. Push daggers are generally illegal. It's not illegal on your own property. Does that make sense? Like, they're illegal to carry, but it's on your own property, not illegal. Why am I using a push dagger versus a normal blade? Any ideas? No.
So you don't telegraph the bad guy, so the bad guy looks at you and has a knife.
Yeah.
Grab that.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons. If I have an obvious big battle knife, some Rambo killer thing on my rig, and I'm actually wrapped up with some dude rolling around on the ground, unable to shoot him, he's looking at all my shit, right? I don't want to get stabbed with my own stuff. I don't want something that looks like a weapon. That's one more thing to keep track of. The other thing is, if you go to draw that Rambo knife, which way is it facing, right? I mean, how many different options do you have? You could grab this thing this way. You could grab it this way, right? You could get it in the other hand and with the other grip. And you've got so many options if you're rolling around and you're like trying to find your knife. How does it come out? When I pull this out, it doesn't matter which hand I pull it out with. What's my technique? Anybody? The technique looks a lot like murder. Like you're just gonna get to work. Like there is no technique. And if it comes out in the other hand, what are you gonna do? Get to work. If it comes out between the other set of fingers, does it matter that it's between these fingers versus those fingers, right? Does it matter which way it's facing? No, you're just gonna beat the living shit out of him till the problem is solved. And so for me, the push dagger solves a lot of problems with which way is the blade facing, which way is it coming out of your hand, weapons retention. There is no weapons retention technique. Like, take this away from me, right? That's just not going to be possible, okay? So this is the Safekeeper 2. There's also, of course, like I really, look at that, like this giant one, right? But honestly, that's way bigger than you need, and that's more likely to get caught on things. And so I decided the little one is really the way to go. But that is more exciting to look at. Right?
Greg, how do you manage weapons retention in your pistol?
As far as
if you're rolling with somebody and you're worried about them, taking a knife from you.
Well, the thing about a pistol is, the pistol is only dangerous what direction? Like, for one, the draw is significant. Like, it takes a lot to draw it. Then it's only dangerous this way. This is something I'm not as worried about in the struggle because I can grab it anywhere. If someone draws my knife, how fucked am I?
Pretty.
Does that make sense? Like, yes, it would be nice to, if I had a thumb break or something, I guess. But I can put my hand right on this and keep it there. The fact that I'm smashed up against him means that my rifle is a non-issue. Does that make sense? And I would not draw this. I would just get my hand on it and leave it there. I would draw this, and I would.
There you go, right there. Yep. It's just
What's that?
It's just waiting for that guy to grab your gun.
The pistol?
Yeah. The guy grabs your pistol. Your knife is just waiting right there.
Oh, sure. Yeah, your knife is your number one weapons retention technique. Like, what I do when I get on the ground with if I had to wrestle someone while I'm carrying a gun, the first thing I do is put my hand on my pistol. Now, I might have one of their arms wrapped up or something, but I'm going to pin my pistol in. I'm going to then draw a knife, and I'm going to kill him.
There you go.
Simply. And I'm not worried about the long gun because if I'm wrestling with him, he can't get the long gun pointed at me, right? It's smashed between us. One of the first things we do is if we make contact with a person when we have a long gun is we go all the way in because then the long gun's neutralized. Like, if I can't shoot him off the gun, if it's really going to be a fight, just go in. When I go in, I'm going to try to wrap him up, and I'm going to get a hold of my own gun, and then I'm going to stab him to death. So that's the very basics. Obviously, there's more to it than that. We spent a few days training people on it. But let's go through this more. Anything else on mags, knife, pistol?
Yeah. Quick question. So how do you secure that push dagger to the rig?
So this one is just clicked in with the. I'll have to let me grab one. I think I have one in a box. I'm going to show you because I'm going to assemble my wife's rig and I'm going to attach it, but it's got this, so I can put this through the mole. Can you see that clip? But also I can zip tie it, which is what I'm going to do to hers because I'm going to see mine ended up behind this magazine. I don't really like that much. I may redo this. I'm going to set it up so that it's totally center lined between two mags on hers.
Okay.
And I'm going to tie it in place. And I'm also going to get a slightly higher height on it, just barely. But this is really not noticeable. People don't know what that is, not in the heat of the moment. Now, I do have a radio on my rig. I don't know that it's, it's not really necessary, but I have cool Peltors and all that. And so right now I just have this. What this eventually will have is this will still be here, but I'll have a disconnect here, and I'll be able to unclick it and click it into my push to talk, which will be threaded up and go to my headphones. And so if I had time, I would click my headphones in. I'd unclick this and click my headphones in. And now I would have my push to talk, and I'd be able to talk off my headphones. And if I wanted to dual push to talk, I've actually thought about this for like defending your neighborhood, is I'm actually thinking about carrying a bullhorn on the back of my rig and clicking into that just so I can yell out at 80 watts through the bullhorn, wrong fucking neighborhood, motherfucker, at full volume. So I think that might work. This is a radio pouch. I just have my ICOM in it. I'll probably put some chem lights on it. I haven't put the chem lights on it yet. Like I said, I just actually put this rig together yesterday. But I'll fill this with chem lights because that's another thing that is really intimidating to a person. Like, I'm setting my stuff up so I actually don't have to shoot people. Because if I pull like 3 or 4 chem lights out of this, break them, and throw them down my stairwell into the living room, what do people in the living room that are bad guys now think?
Oops.
Whoops. Wrong fucking house, right? And so I like intimidation value, which is why I like super bright flashlights. I like things like chem lights. I like bullhorns. I want to fuck with somebody's head so they go, we need to get the hell out of here right now, right? Be that the house, the yard, whatever. And so I think that just gives you more intimidation value. All I did over here on this pouch, this is actually an IFAC pouch, a little IFAC pouch, and I'm using it for my PVS 14. And so I set it up because it's a little bit far to reach around here, but I can do this, and I can grab this and pull it off. And now I could get into it, and I can get my night vision attached to my helmet. But I don't want to leave this on my helmet because it's going to get broken. I've got a 7-power monocular in there just because I've used them a lot in the past, and they're really helpful. But I think it's probably completely unnecessary. Like I said, this rig has way more gear on it than you need. And that is I think this is a Condor pouch. This is a Condor IFAC. And so same thing, I can reach it with either hand and I can rip it away, right? And now I can work on myself. So, and I have one space here between this pouch and this pouch so that I've got full grip access. And it doesn't look like it right now because I'm not wearing this, but once it's curved around your body, you can see how that grip is totally accessible. This pouch isn't in the way. I have one cat that I just have rubber banded on. Out of the way of everything else. And I keep a carabiner on my rig just because I want to be able to connect things to myself in an emergency, or even if I want to take my gun off my head for some reason, I can just click the sling in. I've just found it useful over time to have one carabiner rigged through my gear. And of course, I'm always paranoid and want 2 points. I want redundancy. So my carabiner is through 2 different sets of mole because I don't want any kind of failure. And that is my rig. This could be simpler. It could be, and this is what I'm going to do with my wife's rig. Hers is going to be 2 magazines, her pistol, 2 IFACs. She's a nurse. Any Dungeons and Dragons players here? She is the designated cleric. So she's like, she gets to fight, but mostly she does aid. So, I'm going to be the guy that goes and shoots everybody. And she only has to shoot if required. But I think that'll be a much simpler rig is 2 mags, 1 pistol mag, 1 flashlight, her pistol, and IFAC on each side. That's it. That's how I set this up.
So is that just one cat tourniquet?
Yeah. Well, I have 2 in my IFAC, but I have 1 immediately accessible. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that. I missed one part of what you said. What's the carabiner for?
To connect anything to.
Okay.
Like, if I took my rifle off my head, I could just click my sling through there. And now I can still do high ready, low ready. I used to do that a lot because, like, honestly, I do that a lot. If I'm actually going to wear my rifle all the time, I tighten it up and I click it through my left side carabiner. And now it goes from buttstock to carabiner to the front of the gun. And I can do all this and I don't have that chafing on my neck. Does that make sense? Like if I'm going to wear a rifle for a few hours, I'm going to shorten the sling and click it through my carabiner. If I'm just going to throw it on my head, then it's going to be around my neck. But that's uncomfortable. It's always in the way. It's always chafing. It's all BS. And so I take it off and I click it through this left side carabiner. And now you have enough sling with that L. If I clicked it through this side, you wouldn't have enough sling. But with this side, you have enough sling that you can high ready, low ready, and you can drop your gun, and it doesn't really drop very far. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. It makes too much sense.
Makes too much sense. Now, that means I can't have a sling with all these buckles and bullshit on it. It's got to be a slick sling. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Like if it's not slick, it won't go back and forth, and you're stuck. So I don't like all those bullshit buckles. Like my buckles are at the end, and there's no extra buckles, at least not in the area that I need to be able to move my gun around and do things with, right? And it'll just slide right through there. And I can click into anything. I can take a safety line and click it in. I can do whatever, and I'm pretty secure. I will add a groin piece to this, and I'll do that on my wife's rig also. And on I will put a small combat lifesaver rig on that. And so what I mean by that is I don't have like surgical airway equipment in this. I don't have King LTs, which are, the tubes that you put down a person's throat. This is a basic IFAC, what we call IFAC 2 Plus is what I'm calling it. But I will probably put some combat lifesaver stuff on the groin piece is what I'll do. Just a little pouch, not a big pouch, just a little pouch. And it just sits, the groin piece hangs down and it can move independently. So when you sit, it can flip up and it doesn't impinge on your legs. I'll probably put armored shoulders on this. So I have some shoulder pads that you take off these pads and you put ones that are armor on. They have collars. They have deltoid protectors. And so you just decide how much armor you want. I probably will rig one of these up with everything. And when you first put it on, you just throw it on, and the deltoids are like sticking out of your arms. And then when you had time, you would just unvelcro, put your arm through Velcro, but otherwise it would just be kind of hanging there. And they're not comfortable to wear all day long, but from a home defense situation, you're just not going to wear this so long. You're not like doing a 12-mile road march like wearing this. And so more armor is better. All right. How are we doing? Man, we talked a long time. Okay, so this is a land version, and I actually tucked away and hid the quick disconnect on it. And this is gonna be my wife's rig, and I've got her right now using 20-round magazines. She's not, and I'm gonna have to end up putting something in the bottom of these pouches or sewing them down. I'll probably just put something in the bottom because they're kind of sliding down into it. But it's a little easier for a new person, especially, and somebody that's not used to guns, to handle 20-round mags over 30-round mags. So she's got 20-round mags. She has this. This is Gray Ghost gear. They make great stuff. And so this is just their kangaroo pouch. And so she'll have her flashlight and she'll have her one spare pistol magazine. And this will go right on this spot right here. Then I already showed you this pistol rig. This will go right here, right? Then she'll have an IFAC set up over here and another IFAC set up over here. I don't know that I'll put a radio pouch on. Like, she doesn't have cool headsets or anything like that. I have to buy those for her, I guess.
Greg, what's your thought on having a red IFAC pouch?
Now my normal IFACs are absolutely red. Like in my car, like the stuff that's under the back seat or my trauma bag or anything like that. Absolutely, those are red because those are things I'm going to send people to go find. Does that make sense? Like, here's my truck keys. Go get under the rear seat. Bring all the red stuff.
Right.
And so, absolutely. Though I don't necessarily want that on my tactical rig, I guess. I wouldn't hurt, but, you just have to, there you go, aid. But I shouldn't be sending people to get my armor, probably. I guess I could just say, go get the damn armor, and they could figure it out. But, yes, my normal aid bags absolutely are. So my trauma bags, all my trauma stuff is red. And then my medical gear, what's the difference? Anybody an actual medic here? That's like heart attack and anaphylactic shock and, diabetes. That's medical issues. Does that make sense? Difference between medical and trauma. And so all my trauma gear is red. I have a medical bag for my house. I don't have that in the vehicle. That's blue. And I'm actually just putting together oxygen bags. And so I have all the airway oxygen stuff and oxygen tanks and stuff, just because I'm weird and I buy everything. And those came in orange bags, so that's just going to be orange. And so I'll have orange bag, blue bag, red bag, and you know what those bags are about. So does that answer that on your color things?
It does. Thanks.
Okay. I keep seeing people getting muted and talking wasn't permitted. Sorry about that. I think Todd and somebody couldn't talk. If you couldn't talk and you want to ask a question, ask a question. Nope, nobody has a question?
Each of us can unmute ourselves.
Oh, yeah? Well,
But if they
think,
leave it in mute, it keeps the background noise down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People should mute themselves if they're not talking. But there's some kind of thing on here that was not on here last time I was doing this, that it says talking permitted. And so I think that people, they were not even permitted to unmute themselves. So that kind of sucks. I wouldn't want you not to be able to ask questions. Does anybody want to talk any more about armor, about body armor, not helmets, but armor?
Greg, I missed the first part of your class. I came in late, so I really don't want to ask a bunch of redundant
Yep, you're shit out of luck. But I'll try to answer your question if it's but I won't repeat the class. So what's the question?
Well, I know you're going to post it, but I wanted to ask: are you going to provide like a gear list of all the things you've been recommending, so we can?
Yeah, I'll try to write all that down, but I hope people are taking notes too. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to write it down.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else on?
I have a question, Greg. So we've been talking about soft armor this whole time, and I kind of know the reason for that you gave at the beginning. When would you want to run plates, or when would you start looking at level 4 standalone type plates and plate barriers?
Oh, if we start getting into a situation in life where we're in street combat, I'd want plates, right? Does that make sense? Like, I don't, where I live in the suburb, like my life is not going to open with mass street combat, right? It's going to be some home invader. It's going to be somebody trying to home invade the neighbor, something like that. Almost for sure they're wearing using handguns. If they have a rifle, they probably don't know how to shoot. It's probably not that big of a deal. I probably don't need plates. Now I have a plate carrier rig that I'll bring over and show you guys. And it has plates in it. They're not the highest speed plates. They're kind of medium. But yeah, if it turned into street combat, I'd put my plates on. If I thought that I was actually going to have to go out on a regular basis with my neighbors and make sure my neighborhood stays safe, I'm going to wear my plates. But I'm not going to outfit all these vests with plates just because I just don't think rifle is the threat, personally. Does that answer that?
Yep, absolutely. Thanks.
Yep. Okay, so plate carrier. Just so you guys can see plates and understand how plates work. So this is a plate carrier rig. I stripped some pouches off of this because I'm using them on my other vest, and I'll rebuild this vest. This is the vest I actually wore in Iraq, and I was not in active combat. Like I was more of a support guy. I was like doing all the surveillance work for people and taking rides with people, but I really wasn't. My main job was not fighting for 3 years. And so this vest is a plate carrier, but it's not, it does have some sides to it. This is the plate part right here. And the soft armor behind it is bigger than just the plate. And then the cummerbund system, which is this has soft armor in it. So I actually have full coverage around me. It's not the square inches of the Bollocks rig, though. It would be better to have worn that rig. But honestly, I was lazy and it was hot over there. And so I wore this, slicker rig. This is actually a Condor rig, so we might as well talk about Condor a little bit. Does anybody know the history of that? So everybody knows the company Blackhawk, right? Blackhawk was all American made. And they decided to move overseas, and they went to China, and they stood up a plant. And then right before they fired it up, they made a better deal with Vietnam, and they moved their plant to Vietnam. And right now, I don't know if all Blackhawk stuff is made there. I'm sure they make some stuff still in America. but a lot of their stuff at least was made in Vietnam. Well, the Chinese are sitting there with this plant, and they're like, what are we going to do now? And they're like, fuck it. Condor, Black Hawk, bird, whatever. And they just started making the shit. And at first they were making it pretty crappy. And what they found out, because it was mostly airsoft kids buying it, is on eBay, and it was airsoft. But there was a feedback loop. They're like, hey, you know, if you built this a little better, we'd buy more. If you used better material, we'd buy more. If you sewed it better, we'd buy more. And they actually started making stuff better and better and better. And this is my opinion. You guys do what you want. If an American company is going to have stuff made overseas, why do I want to pay them a premium when I could just buy it overseas? Like, if I'm going to pay a premium, I want it made here from our stuff. And if I'm going to buy it cheap, I'm just going to go direct. There's no reason to give the middleman any money, my opinion. And so this Condor stuff is just fine. There's nothing wrong with it at all. I know a lot of guys that started wearing this stuff in Iraq because they'd wear it for a tour and they would totally just throw it away. Because you're talking about like nothing. This carrier is $100 or something like that versus back then a $600 carrier. And so, you know, you end up falling in one open pit human poop pool, and you're pretty upset that your $600 rig with your like $500 worth of pouches just got saturated with human poo. With this Condor rig, I would just be like, trash, start over, you know, no money into it, basically. And so it's a fine rig overall. It is a plate carrier rig. It does not have the square inches of normal armor. The only thing, so I had a radio pouch, I had a short mag. I do like having a fast mag, and I'm thinking about putting that on my wife's rig where she has her two normal mags and a fast mag because she doesn't have a ready mag on her rifle. I try to keep her rifle really light. And that just is a really low pouch that gives you a lot of access, so it's really fast. Right there on my left kind of abdominal area where I can reach to really quickly. It's nice to have a fast mag there versus those mags that are so deep in the pouches with things over the top of them. So that's a thought. This is the IFAK. This was non-tearaway. This is what I wore in Iraq. This rig's been sitting in my downstairs for whoever. I would want a tearaway one on it, because there's no way you can work out of this. And this is just an accessory pouch. And I just put extra crap in there. I keep my night vision in there. You know, I've got my multi-tool. I've got, you know, things like that. And these are really awesome. I've had these for 25 years and never got to use them. They're all taped up, all cool. These are pepper spray grenades. That's like 10,000 cubic foot of pepper spray. I can't wait to use that on somebody. I can't wait to throw that down the stairs. So, and that's it. That's plate carrier rig. Very simple. Questions, comments? Nothing? Do I still have you guys? All right.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Question about plate carrier attached slings. So, what's your take on just having like a quick detached sling that clicks to your rifle, but the sling is actually attached to the rig?
That's fine, but I don't want only that. I'd rather be able to have it on my head. I'm not going to have like a rifle that only works on my gear. Does that make sense? Right? Like, I would want that sling to go over my head, but I also want to be able to click it on. I tried like single points only connected to the rigs, and that's fine if you're like operational, if you're like putting your gear on and then going out and operating to just click your rifle to your rig, it's okay. It still doesn't work that great because like if I want to be able to put it on my back and tighten it down because I got to carry a buddy or whatever I have to do, it just doesn't work very well. And so I gave up on that, and I want a normal sling that I can use normally. I could also click it on my rig. I can put my gun on my back and tighten it down. I can do all these various things with a standard 2-point sling. The only difference is, you know, if you've been to our rifle classes, is we don't run our slings on the far end of the rifle. We run at least one side inboard, if not both sides inboard, because that allows us to high ready and low ready. Whereas if it's on the outside of the rifle, you put your left arm and your head through it. I can low ready, but the gun won't high ready. You can't get the butt to go down far enough. There's just not enough sling. And so if you run more center pointed, more like an MP5, you can also get your muzzle up, which is important when you're around vehicles. And it's important when you want to use your flashlight off the ceiling. Okay, any questions on those rigs or pouches? Want to talk more pouches? You know, there's millions of options. And I have chest rigs to talk about. So what do you, and helmets to talk about. So what do you want to talk about, guys?
Chest rigs.
Chest rigs. Pantel Tactical, extremely simple chest rig. It's awesome. I do wish that actually he left this side as just Mole, so you could put some bigger pouches on it because those are kind of small pouches. But same thing, I can put my pistol in one side, depending on the size pistol you have, 3 mags. They have the mag inserts in them. You could put stuff on the front. I kind of wish they were kangaroo, but they're not. I think it's a great rig. He's local, support him. You can also unclick it all and use this Velcro and use these to attach it to a armor system if you want. So that's not a bad option. I have a couple of other chest rigs here I want to show you that are really nice.
Greg, when would you use a chest rig over your full rig over just grabbing
The only time, yeah, it would have to be a weird situation. One, you're in a training class and you just aren't in good enough shape to wear your armor all day long. Then you would swap out. You know, you'd wear your armor for however many hours you could, and you'd swap out to a chest rig. If I ever was patrolling, you know, if you ever had to like go out for hours on end, walk slowly through the woods and, you know, all this kind of stuff, most places you're going to do that, you're going to become a heat casualty if you're wearing armor. You just can't wear that much stuff. It's too heavy and it's too hot. And so chest rigs become what you wear if you have to wear gear for hours on end, walking around patrolling, and you're just not in the wrong weather conditions and you're not in good enough shape. You just can't wear your armor. You know, it's just impossible to do the job. So you have to say, you know, I wear armor, but my mission isn't to wear armor. My mission is to accomplish some objective. The armor can help me accomplish that objective by allowing me not to get shot, or it can hinder me by making me incapable of doing the job because I'm overheating and I'm carrying too much weight. So then you'd have to go to a chest rig. This is California Competition Works. They make like IPSC stuff and stuff like that. This is a great rig. I hope they still make it. It's got 4 mag pouches. 2 of them have kangaroo pouches on the front, and it's got Mole spots that I could then put like IFAKs and stuff like that. Super awesome rig. I think it's great. I wish it had less buckles. I don't like so many buckles. I don't need all my stuff to come flying off of me. It just adds bulk, but it's a great rig. And let me grab one more and ask questions while I'm out of the screen. Nothing? Anybody? Questions? No?
I've seen some rigs where the carrier is low vis. There's no attachment, but you wear your chest rig basically on top of your armor. Thoughts
Yes.
on that?
Yeah, so the Velocity Systems, Cry, a few different people, Mayflower probably do those. Those are really nice rigs. They make the best stuff in the world. They make stuff directly for Ground Branch from the CIA. They make stuff directly for Delta Force. You're going to pay a premium for it. But yes, you could wear low vis armor that just has a Velcro front on it and just click everything, you know, just Velcro to it. Or you can wear various armor systems that have some organized system of clips. And that's where that Pantel Tactical system, you would just unclip these 6 clips and you would clip into that system. Does that make sense? So you'd be wearing the exact same rig whether you're wearing your armor or not. So all your gear's in the same place. That's kind of the idea there. And that works great. This is an old low-vis system. I can't remember who made this. Semi-low-vis, but you know, it's got you know, 4 or 5 pockets across it's got a radio pocket. It's got 3 mag pouches, 4 mag pouches, a couple different pouches for stuff. You know, they're all simple, whatever you want to, you know, this costs $29 from Condor, right? This could be a first aid kit, or it could be whatever you want to put it in a canteen. You got room. These will actually hold 2 mags a piece, but they have enough elastic that they do okay at 1 mag a piece. They have flaps over them, but you can pull the flaps off. See, this is the same pouch. It just still has the flap on it, so I could unvelcro this flap, right? Or I could leave it, you know, if this was a radio or something like that. This chest piece can fold down in or not if you don't want to put anything up here. Super simple. Everything you need if you want to just have some simple chest rig to train with and practice with when you're not wearing your armor.
Hey, Greg, given when you load up the chest rig, it becomes kind of unbalanced and eventually you'll feel it in your back. Why not? So why chest rig over battle belts?
Because they're not gay. So, no, I don't put that much stuff in my chest rig. Like that would have 3 mags and a radio. It's just not that heavy. I'm not going to carry like 1 million magazines on a chest rig, and I don't actually feel it's unbalanced. One, I wear it really high. Like I wear my chest rigs really high because I want to be able to put my belly on the ground, right? I want to put my pelvis and my belly on the ground from the prone and have my magazines above that. Like we don't wear them down here. It's called a chest rig, not a belly rig, right? It should not be unbalanced. You should carry that weight very, very easily. You know, my old LBE system was even worn that high. It was worn very high. Bottom of my magazines way above my belly button. And, you know, I could carry double basic load, you know, so we're talking like, you know, 12 magazines plus canteens plus everything else. It's not, I don't think it's unbalanced at all. It's not off of you like your armor is. Your armor can get really unbalanced if you put too much stuff on the front. I've just never put that much stuff in a chest rig where I thought that I ever felt anything on my lower back. So I'm not sure where that comes from. I mean, I'm not sure where you're wearing it and how much stuff you're wearing there, but I've never noticed that with a chest rig messing with my back. My armor messed with my back way more than any chest rig ever has. But battle belts, like, they don't work. Like you can't patrol in that. That's not for patrolling. You can't have shit on your hips, bumping into things. It makes you wider. Like that doesn't work when you're going through the woods, and you're just not carrying much stuff on it. So the whole belt idea, like the only time I wore a belt was in Iraq on base because I wanted to carry my pistol and my first aid kit, and I didn't want to wear my damn armor because it was so hot. So I put a belt on, so I had my shit. But I even quit doing that and just carried concealed because I didn't want to have to unload my gun to go in the chow hall. So I just don't see the reason for the belts personally. Some people it works in their life. If it works for you, like I know guys that live in the country and they will put that belt on because they're working on their farm and they want to have their IFAK and their pistol and extra mag and all that stuff really easy. And I guess it makes sense for that, but I don't see it how it fits into my system at all. I put everything on my vest.
Also really hard to drive or get in and out of vehicles with those battle belts on.
Yeah, I think it's a pain in the ass. And, you know, a couple of you guys went to Recondo, and if you remember the guy, you know, one of the guys that Spokane area guy, old friend of ours, is he had all his chest stuff, and then he had all this like belt leg stuff. And the first thing I did is like went and took all that off of him because I knew what a disaster that was going to be as soon as he started trying to walk through the woods. It just gets caught on everything. I don't find a reason for it. If I was going to have one, I would buy one that was bulletproof. I would buy the blast belt, right? So if I'm going to wear that big padded thing, it's going to stop bullets. When I grab stuff, that's the reason I don't use like a slung bag. So this is just, you know, some simple, these are great range bags. And, but all these like, you know, man purses, all these like basically giant diaper bag things that guys are using tactically. That's cool. You could have magazines, you could have a first aid kit, all that kind of stuff. But you just went and grabbed this thing and put it on that now has magazines and a first aid kit, and it doesn't stop bullets. Where I can just grab this, right? You know, it's done up right now because we were talking, but it wouldn't be done up. But, you know, how long, you know, this is not a lengthy process, right, to put this on, right? And even if I don't even do it up, but then if I have a couple more seconds and I do this up because I don't feel I have time to do the cummerbund. I mean, that didn't take any time. And now, like, I have some bullet resistance. And so I'm just not into grabbing gear. Like, if I'm going to go grab gear and put it on, I want it to stop bullets, which is why chest rigs just don't have much of a place unless I'm patrolling and I can't wear armor because I'm going to die from heat stroke wearing armor. And that's where a chest rig would come in, or some kind of load-bearing equipment. And I still love my old school Vietnam load-bearing equipment. If I really had to walk through the woods for a length of time, I would put on my old patrolling gear because you can't beat it. Because even a chest rig will get hot in comparison to a proper set of load-bearing gear. All right, questions about chest rigs. This is the time to ask.
Yeah. So if you want a rig that, say, doesn't look like a soldier, maybe you just want to look like a hiker or a hunter, and you don't, you know, you're going through and you don't want to look so loaded up.
Yeah, are you carrying an AR-15? Yeah. I mean, if you're carrying an AR-15, I'm not so worried. I mean, I'm going to wear what I need to wear to outfit my AR-15.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can carry. I mean, you do whatever you want. I mean, this class is definitely not about everything. I mean, this is about armor and chest rigs. So it's not this really isn't about low profile. So if I wanted to be lower profile, I would throw concealable armor on and maybe a really low profile chest rig, and I'd wear an extra large shirt over the top of it. And that's what we did, you know, when we ran low profile. You know, when you're driving in a car and you've got a shirt on that's buttoned up over the top of a simple chest rig and soft armor or a plate carrier or something that's all slick, it's pretty low profile. You can even get out and move around as long as nobody's like really close to you. They're probably not going to notice. And so that's about the best you can do that way. I mean, if you're carrying a rifle, it's pretty obvious that you're carrying a rifle. So I'm not sure you can get super low pro. Mostly we're wearing it because we're driving around. And then when you leave the vehicle, everybody's going to know that the game's on because you're going to have your rifle out and you're going to kick down some door. So there's only so much, you know, deception that you can do. That probably was not a good answer. So anything else? Anybody want to talk about helmets?
Yes.
All right. I like my head. And so I really don't want bullets going through my head. I've had a bullet like land in the overhead of my vehicle, like right there. And that was enough to convince me I don't want to get shot in the head. And so I'm going to wear a helmet. Now, helmets are rated at about 3A. Will 3A stop a rifle?
No.
Say no. Except, and this is why I am super anti-bump helmet. What's a bump helmet? Anybody know?
Just so you don't bump your head. It's a hard hat.
Yeah. So a bump helmet is, this Navy SEALs have this idea when they're doing shipboard, you know, they're retaking a ship, they're going on an oil platform, they're like, the helmets won't stop a rifle, therefore we don't want to wear the weight. But if you've ever ran around on a commercial ship, a non-passenger ship, you will brain yourself on most of the ship. There is just shit everywhere that's like really sharp. And so you got to wear something to protect your head. And so they came up with this bump helmet idea. It's the worst idea ever. It's classic Navy SEAL. Bad idea. Because the truth is, almost everybody that gets shot in their helmet with a rifle lives. Because you don't get shot perpendicular, right? It just doesn't happen, right? It's always some kind of angle. And the vast majority of what you see is some kind of refraction where you'll see a penetration and a penetration, except the bullet track is around the inside of the helmet, right? Or the guy actually has like missing hair forever because it actually was between his head and the helmet, like bouncing. And believe it or not, it'll do that. And so, yeah, maybe it's not rifle rated, but man, almost everybody that's shot in the head with a rifle wearing their helmet survives. So we can't like say that it doesn't work. And once again, most bad guys are coming with pistols, so call it good. And these are 3A, they'll stop a pistol. There have been a couple guys. So I used to just think it was ridiculous, the idea that you get knocked out if you get shot in the head, because really you're not experiencing any more impact than the shooter experienced, right? With a bolt action gun. Obviously a semi-automatic, it's going to have the spring, but you're really not experiencing massive impact when you get hit. Yet I do know of a special forces guy that climbed up on the edge of a berm to shoot an AT-4. I think he was shooting an AT-4, got shot, got knocked out, rolled down the berm. Unfortunately, when he woke up, he didn't remember exactly what had happened, because what did he do? Anybody know? This happened in Afghanistan. He climbed up to the same spot to do the same thing. And guess what happens if you do the same thing?
Yeah.
You get the same result. He actually climbed up and no shit, got shot in the head again, knocked unconscious, rolled down the berm. Next time he woke up, he obviously figured out that he was doing something wrong, and he did it differently. And ended up not getting shot again and ended up defeating the enemy. But this is a Mitch cut or an ACH. So originally, you know, the Kevlar had that little, it looked at that German setup, you know, it was even lower down here and it had this little thing here so the rain doesn't get in your eyes. And that's what everybody wore. Special operations is like, you know, that little lip is stupid because it gets in the way of my night vision thing and all this stuff. And it's so low in the back that I can't lay in the prone and lift my head up. It gets caught on my vest and stuff like that. And so they cut down the helmet a little bit and called it the Mitch. Then the entire Army adopted it as the ACH, Advanced Combat Helmet. And it's a good system. It's not the cool system with the all high cut and all that kind of stuff. It's got a lot of coverage. And so I would suggest generally more coverage is better than less coverage. And this is just, you know, it's got pads inside of it. It's got a basic suspension system. It doesn't have the best suspension system. You can replace this nape pad with one that's Kevlar. That's cool. They have dial systems that are really awesome because they really grab the nape of your neck. But this basic system here is pretty comfortable. And the only reason this has all this shit on it is because I was social engineering in Iraq and I needed people to think I was cool and give me rides on their helicopters. And so I put a bunch of shit on my helmet so that when I walked up and talked to them, they just were like looking at all my shit and they thought I was cool. Because believe it or not, 10 years ago, this was pretty cool looking. There's pouches on the back only because if you wear night vision, you need a counterweight. Because what's more important than weight is center pointing the weight. And so if it's balanced, it doesn't weigh anything. And if it's off balanced, it weighs a massive amount and it really wears on you. So if you're going to wear night vision, you do want a little bit of a counterweight on the back. That might as well be batteries as opposed to a piece of lead. The first guys that actually came up with this actually would take these screw holes that were already existing here and they just cast a fish weight that they could screw onto it. And that's what they were doing for a weight. But it's like, why not put some batteries back there or something useful as opposed to a lead weight? Lead weight would be fine though. And that is your basic helmet. And there are cooler ones that are high cut. I'm going to set a setup next month. Probably I'll set a helmet up and I'll put my Peltors. They have the rail systems. I think I might have another helmet here with a rail. I'm not sure if I brought it up here or not. Oh, maybe I didn't bring it. We won't worry about that other helmet. But you have these rail systems and you can attach your headphones to the rails. I actually just run my headphones inside this thing and put it all on and the headphones are inside. It's no big deal. You can do it that way. You just take out some of these pads in the center for the, you make sure the pads are set up where they're pushing on the front and the back of your head. You're leaving that area open and then you just put it all on. It works just fine. I ran that way 3 years in Iraq before they had the cool rail systems. It's totally fine. Questions on helmets?
Do you get concerned about the helmet coverage with the rail system?
Yeah, so you can wear an ACH and have that rail and do all that. It's just if your headphones are too big or if your head's too big for your helmet, you won't quite have room for your Hearing Pro. But I can wear my Hearing Pro and it's all up in here. I wear the Peltors that have the big part down here, right? Does that make sense? You know what I'm talking about? The Peltors have like an extra bump, but it's down low. And so, yes, you have less coverage. Does it matter? I don't know. It's, I don't know, 10 inches, 15 inches of square inches of coverage that you lose when you get a high cut helmet. So it's kind of your choice. Lighter's better, obviously, but what's more important than light is that it be balanced. But if you're not used to wearing a helmet at all, it's going to get really tiring in your neck really quickly. Like you're not going to last that long and your neck is going to be really sore. So you definitely want to, with all this stuff, you need to put it on a lot. Do calisthenics with it on, right? Work out in your garage, wear it extended amount of time to see if it really fits well. Just wear it around the house, make your wife think you're totally crazy. Yeah, but the helmets will definitely wear on your neck. So you're definitely going to want to do some exercises and wear them often. But yes, coverage is a factor and you're going to have to make a decision about whether you want more coverage or less coverage. Anything else on helmets?
Yeah, how do the helmets age? I mean, is there concerns about helmets that
No, I'm not concerned about it. I mean, really, they're solid Kevlar. It's very hard for it to degrade. I guess at some point it would get old. That helmet is, it's over 15 years old. I wouldn't worry about it. I think
so. Used helmets.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. Though helmets aren't that expensive now. So, once again, talking about the Chinese stuff versus not, most of your inexpensive, most of your $400 or $500 helmets in the U.S. being sold by U.S. companies are made overseas, right? And so then you're like, well, shit, I could just buy it direct from overseas for $300, or I could buy a true American-made helmet and pay $800, $1,000, or $1,500, and it's a really cool helmet, and it is better ballistics, and it's lighter, but it's it's $1,000 to $1,500 as opposed to $300. So what's your budget? What can you invest in? The Chinese helmets, you can look it up on YouTube. Militech is a company that has been around at least 20 years. I know of them. I do World War II living history stuff, and they constantly are making kind of copies of historic things, and they've gotten into making modern helmets and plates and stuff like that. And if you look it up on YouTube, Militech helmets or Militech plates, you'll probably find 20, 30 videos of people shooting them, and they are basically 3A equivalent, right? Even though they are not NIJ tested. So guys will say they meet NIJ standards, but they have not been. I don't think any of them have been NIJ submitted. But guys are shooting them all over YouTube, and they stop bullets. So $300. Hard to argue with that. Used helmets, though, you can, if it wasn't, the plague right now, you can find used helmets for $200-300 also. And I wouldn't worry about an ACH. All the ACHs that have been built in the last 15 years, so you're probably fine. To answer that about age, yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. At some point, I guess you're going to have to worry about it, but that old PSA GT stuff, right? Passage, whatever they called it. You guys have all seen the vest that's like the woodland camo, and it's got shoulder pieces and a little collar. It's in all the movies, right? The stupid camo vest. It closes in the front. You used to be able to find those for like $75. Those will stop all shotguns and rifles. They're bulky and stupid, but man, if you wanted to have you got a non-fighting spouse and you want to hey, put this on, there you go. There's your $90, and they're like bulletproof down to their crotch, and they got a collar and everything. And same thing with the old school helmet. You could find those for nothing, and you're like, put this on. And so, if I had to put armor on a bunch of people, and I don't, I'm not a millionaire, I'm going to buy stuff like that because it's all better than nothing. All right. We have been going for 2 hours. Do you guys have any questions on stuff?
So what about night vision mounts? Do you stick with just the standard, or do you have a aftermarket one you like?
No, so I think this, I can't remember who made this one. I can't remember if it was Wilcox or somebody, but I purposely got, at the time, 10 years ago, this was the coolest mount you could put on the front of this. And I bought this and put it on there because I wanted everybody to think I was cool. So, because it really helped me social engineering wise. But honestly, they're all good. And this is just a standard Army mount here. I can grab my vision. Standard mount. They're all good now. Once again, it just really depends on how much you want to spend. And so this just goes right in front of your, left eye. Okay. And then you'd need an infrared laser on your gun to be able to shoot well. Or if you had something like an EOTech or something like that, you can come up. If the light is, if you can see the reticle and see the person, you'll kind of get that eye doing that double thing where you can figure it out. But generally, for really dark or any kind of distance, you would need an infrared laser. Night vision is not super necessary. That would be way low on my list of stuff that I would need. Yeah, it's great. It's fun, but it's not magic. It doesn't allow you to see everything. That's for sure. So I don't know. Does that answer that question? This is just standard military mounts. Nothing special. I think the best starter night vision is a PVS 14. You can get used PVS 14 Bravos for under $2,000. At least you could before the plague. And that's a great way to go versus like you're going to save $7,000 to buy dual tubes and be the coolest guy ever. For the 6 months you were saving, you could have owned a PVS 14, and you could have used it and see if you really need night vision or not, if it actually is cool or not, if you know, if it's useful to you, because it's probably, most people don't need night vision. That'd be way low on the priority list. Anything?
Well, I think that's pretty comprehensive. I know a lot more than I did 2 hours ago.
Okay. Well, please ask questions, guys. You're on this thing, and so speak up and ask about whatever you want to ask about.
Greg, I've got a Velocity Systems.
Yeah.
It's the Spear Bulks.
Yep.
Armor inserts, the Kevlar 3A.
Yeah.
And the carrier.
Okay.
And is that a more compact vest? It looks like one you could wear under, like you were talking about, a heavy shirt.
Yeah, depend on, they make a bunch of them, but I don't know which model specifically you have, but yeah, they make, so what Velocity and Cry and those guys are going to do is they're going to make stuff that's just like as perfect as it can be made. So it's going to have the least amount of material, right? It's going to be, it's going to be the strongest material for its weight. Like that's what those guys do, right? And they're really awesome companies, no doubt. And so if you have a Velocity Systems carrier, you know, you have one of the best carriers made, no doubt. And so you probably saved yourself a couple pounds of weight, and it's probably even more durable, quite possibly. So, but it fits the same armor in it, right?
Okay.
And they have ones that are just Velcro, low profile rigs where you just have Velcro pouches. They have ones that have Mole on them. You know, so once again, which model you have, I don't know. And I don't know the names of all their models, but they make great stuff. There's no doubt. I had a buddy that just bought a Cry vest and the Cry armor, and he's like, oh my God, I can wear this like vest and not even know I'm wearing it. It's so light. Like he's got a concealment vest from them. And there's no doubt. I mean, those guys are the best guys in the game.
Okay.
Now you're gonna pay for that. And so if you have the income, you should be looking at Cry, Velocity Systems, Mayflower. Like those are the companies. Okay. I don't know the guy from Cry Armor, but I do know guys that know him, and they say he's just an awesome dude. He's an MIT PhD type guy that just decided that he was going to take his MIT PhD brain and make cool ass military shit. Right. The guy from Velocity Systems, I've known him for 25 years. I met him at Gunsight, and he has built a fabulous company. And once again, they're dealing directly with top tier U.S. and British units, making those guys exactly what they want. And so you are getting the benefit of like all these Delta Force and CIA operators and SAS guys coming to Velocity Systems and saying, I want this to click like this, right? And then so when you buy their gear, that's what you're getting. You're getting all that knowledge put into that gear. The question is, are you a SEAL Team 6 operator with SEAL Team 6 training and SEAL Team 6 conditioning on a SEAL Team 6 mission in a SEAL Team 6 operating environment? If you're not, then maybe their gear is not optimized for you, right? And so that's where I have some problems with like the little go fast plate carrier rigs and stuff like that. It's just like what are you doing? Like you got like, okay, so now your nipples can't get shot, and that's about it, you know? And I want more coverage. I'm not running around. I'm not going on that mission. I'm not jumping out of the helicopter and sprinting across 100 yards and kicking a door down. I'm like getting out of my bed and going to the door. And so I'd rather have more armor on.
Well, I guess I lucked out. I got this at a private swap meet of like-minded people, and along with the carrier.
Yeah.
But the second one, the other carrier didn't have a body armor for it.
Oh, you got a deal. Awesome.
Yeah, I got a deal, and I didn't know what I had.
Right. Well, you bought the best brand in existence, is what you got.
I'm looking at them online. Right. I'm looking at them online.
Yeah.
As we're talking.
So, this Tactical Tailor used to make these. I think they sold the rights to someone else. And I love this as that fast mag, that mag that goes on that spot right there, because it's got this little bit of give, and it's got lots of room to grip the magazine, right? So you got all that grip ability, and it just yanks right out of there fast. And so I like that for my fast mag. So if you're thinking about running like a speedy mag and then having a couple more mags that are harder to get out of pouches, this hard pouch is a great way to go. They've got this rubber band system on it, and you can like raise the rubber band or put 2 rubber bands on it, and that would, have more tension, right? And so, if you feel like you're going to lose the mag somehow, you could just raise the rubber band, and if it still isn't tight enough, you could put a double rubber band on it, and it's just going to prevent that a little bit, right? But it's a great fast system. Fast mag is what this is called, and it is no longer Tactical Tailor. So there you go.
I'm pretty sure those are ITW fast mags.
Oh yeah,
ITS.
ITS. Okay.
ITS?
I know some of my pouches are ITS. I can't remember which ones. I'd have to disassemble the pouch off of the rig to tell you. But there's so many good companies out there nowadays. I just don't like the pouches that are so tall that the magazine completely disappears. So I know why they do it. There's more retention. It doesn't have to be sewn as tight, and they can hold that mag in there. But honestly, this is that Condor one, and like, is it really going to operationally make a difference whether I'm using that one versus this Gray Ghost Gear one? And so I spent $14 or I spent $34, and they're the same thing. This one does seem a little nicer made, but I don't know that you'd actually notice a difference. The pistol mags sit just barely lower on the Gray Ghost, which I do like. So, but really, there's very little difference. Anything else? Questions before we call it a night? Was this informative? So help me out, guys. I know most of you, and so I expect some honest feedback. You can write me or you can tell me. Could you see what was going on? And could you understand what was going on? And was the 2 hours worth your $10?
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, 100%.
All right.
I want to kill the recording.
Want to kill the what?
Stop the recording.
Oh, well, I'll just edit it, but no big deal.
Okay. I have some LED lights.
Uh-huh.
So you should either put a scrim behind you to knock the backlighting, and then put some forward lighting down so you can get some contrast.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm going to have to work on like where I set up and when I set up. I've got to create a couple spaces in my house where I, depending on the lighting conditions, like this is a great spot before 5 o'clock. And then by 7 o'clock, it's getting, glary.
If you put a parachute canopy behind you, you'd have the most awesome white light.
Okay.
That would be even. So
yeah, so I can fix that. That's definitely, I'm going to have to create a couple different spaces that I can shoot from. Thank you. I am going to have to do that. I would like to figure out how to use multiple cameras where I can just turn on the downward camera and turn on the front camera. But I'm not a big technology guy, so I'm still working on all this. I'm gonna have to figure out how Zoom works basically and how all the cameras work.
Absolutely great, Greg. I got good notes and a lot of stuff to research now.
Okay. Video quality decent enough? Sound decent enough?
I was going to comment on the video quality. So overall, pretty good, but it's coming in at like 480p or something on your end. So it's a little pixelated, a little grainy, and I have a gigabyte fiber optic internet. So, but so on my end, I know that the connection is really good. So maybe play around with the video footing settings.
Okay. I'll do that. And I did upgrade our internet. My wife had some internet program that I don't know, it was like dripping the internet to us, and so hopefully it's doing better now. And then the other option, of course, is I could plug in and not do Wi-Fi. I'm on a Wi-Fi right now on the deck, but hopefully it's okay. It might be the camera too, because that camera is years old, the camera that I connected to. And so I might have to get a better camera and all that kind of stuff, but I'll figure that out.
That could probably be it, because I think where you're sitting and the lighting in the background, I think it's actually all really good. It's just the resolution of the camera is a little down.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to upgrade my camera then, because that's a good 8-10-year-old camera.
Yeah, Greg, is this a different camera than you used the other night? Because the other night it was a much sharper image.
No, this is the same camera I used for IFAC. I think it's just that the little bit of glare coming from back here is screwing with us. I think that's all that it is. I'm not sure. I set up a different angle last time, and I think that really helped.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the audio quality is good.
Behind the camera will make a big difference.
Yeah. Well, yeah, basically, and also just like I said, that I had a good sunblock the other night. I set up a nice sunblock, and I set up. I don't think that's going to get low enough. Nope, still didn't help. The sun's getting too low. But I was facing a different direction, and so I think that was the deal. This direction didn't work out. I was hoping we would get all this done before the sun got low enough that it mattered, but it obviously is glaring. So I need to face different directions. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna have to figure out what spots on the deck and what spots in the house to use what time of day. For sure.
The audio quality is very good, though.
Good. Good.
Yeah, I'll agree. Add to that too.
Yeah, the audio was great. The thing I want to add is about video. When someone is talking, I don't know, maybe it's some Zoom settings that can be configured on my side or your side. But when someone is talking, it just shows you this name full screen. I cannot see anything that you are doing or showing.
It's cutting me off when other people are talking. Ah, yeah, we don't want that. We want me to just be the only probably video, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a Zoom setting. You can change that in the master settings to lock only on the meeting host.
I will do that then. I didn't know that because in my screen, I just clicked on my picture and that's all it's shown the whole time. And so I don't know if you have that ability or not. But me, I can see like a thing of names across the top, and it was jumping back and forth. But then at the very start, I just clicked on me, and I've been the big screen the whole time. So I will have to figure that out because you don't want to lose track of me just because people are talking. I do like people being able to talk. I don't know how you felt about that. I don't want to try to read these chat boxes. And I want other people to hear the question. And, you know, I want the back and forth gives everyone more energy, I think.
It sets you apart. It's great.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if it gets to be 100 people watching it, maybe I can't have people talking, but I still would rather have that energy of us going back and forth. Like I said, I don't want to be reading that thing while trying to, you know, communicate to you guys.
I think the back and forth, the speaking, makes it more like a classroom setting.
Okay, good.
Yeah, as long as it's audio only. There were a few times tonight where someone asked a question and it stole the video feed from you just as you were showing something, and so we went blind for a minute.
I'm sorry about that. I did not know that. I didn't know that was happening. So I will definitely.
There's a setting called disable active speaker, and so what talking? Did you lose it?
Yeah, there's a disable me setting, which is me knocking the camera down while I'm trying to look for that setting that you're just going to tell me about. So I'll figure that out later. I'm going to just screw all this up right now.
Yeah.
Sure.
Hey, Greg, this is Steve. Yeah, one of the things I would recommend when I teach my classes, I make sure that all the participants are on mute.
Yep.
And if they want to speak, they have to unmute themselves.
Right.
It's just something I would just make sure that the participants know. Otherwise you get people yelling in the background.
I did try to say that a few times at the start, and so I don't know if you missed the first part, but I tried to tell everybody to mute themselves. And I do need to figure out this setting because for some reason it brought you all in without talking being permitted. And I don't want that, obviously. And I don't want to have to click a button because I want to be focused on talking to you guys. I don't want to be looking at the screen. And I'm going to have to look at the camera more. Like I tend to look at the screen, and I'm going to have to learn to look at the camera or mount the screen up close to the camera.
Sure. There should be a way to mute all while if you do have somebody that has a little extra background noise.
Yes, there is a mute all. I just didn't want to turn everybody off. I wanted them to be able to ask questions. So they got to be able to unmute themselves. So I'm going to have to play with that more, learn this program more.
Yeah.
Well, I think the way it's working is when you hit mute all, it just mutes everybody. So you get whoever's got the background noise going. And then whoever's trying to ask a question and participate has the ability to unmute themselves.
Okay. All right.
And if you hold down the space bar, it'll unmute you just as long as you're talking, like a push to talk switch.
Really? I had no idea.
Yeah, so I'm on mute the whole time, and then as soon as I talk, I just hit the space bar, and that's like a push to talk.
Well, that's something we will tell participants then. We'll put that in the notes before they even come on, that they can just be muted and push the space bar. It's an excellent thing to be able to tell everybody right off the bat. Any other feedback?
Yeah, that mute all works great too if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons on Zoom and you have somebody too much. Just saying.
Who's that? Who just spoke?
It was me, Steve.
Steve. All right. I can't see who it was. I heard the voice, but I knew that as soon as you said D&D, it had to be Steve. Though some of the rest of you might be gamer geeks too. I don't know. Probably half the people listening are.
Greg, it was really great content.
Kind of
Value for that
concretes
$10.
in the fact
Hold
that
on. Two of you are talking at once, so slow down. One of you, go ahead.
It was really good value for the $10. I missed the first half of the class and came away knowing a lot more than I did. So I'm looking forward to the replay.
Okay.
But I also wanted to say, from my side, I'm on East Coast time, so it's 10:30 here.
Yep.
Earlier start time would be better, but I don't know if that's feasible for you. That's really my only other feedback. Otherwise, it was great. Thank you very much.
What I think I'm going to try to do, I don't have that many East Coast clients, so it's going to be a bit of a problem, but I think what I'm going to try to do is run Pacific Coast time 3 to 5 or 4 to 6, and then 7 to 9. So do 2 different blocks on a weekday. And so it'd be the same subject done twice. Once we have enough people, once I get this out there enough, and I'm going to try to do 1 or 2 subjects a week. So.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. And then the question is, if I actually have this squared away so my camera isn't tipping over and shit's not falling down, would you pay more than $10? So that's the other question. Nobody has an opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think it's worth more. I think for $10, you really over delivered. Honestly, I was not expecting you to go into so much detail for $10. So yeah, I think once you kind of have a lot of this settled, you could easily go up to $20.
Okay. Because obviously this is what I do for a living, and I need to be able to make a living, and so I need to figure out how to monetize this. And I'm still questioning about putting this on YouTube afterwards and all that stuff. Like, do I want to just give it away, or do I want to just keep doing this, every 30 days, do the same lecture? And obviously we have to have enough information on YouTube that people know about us and want to come and pay money. But I don't want to get in the business of selling advertising and selling stuff. I'd rather be the guy that sells knowledge, does training personally. So I don't know if that's practical or not from a business perspective, but that's what my intent is going to be.
Some other people with your background do exactly what you said. They put up a short, maybe 5-minute summary of what this class just did on YouTube for everybody to watch, and show them how to find the real thing for more money.
Okay. That's probably what I'll have to do, is do some short little teaser clips. I am going to do a whole bunch of basic stuff on YouTube and things like that. Maybe I'll do short teaser clips. And then we're going to have a Patreon also. And so different people on Patreon will get free access to the live versions if they're at the high level. And then maybe the mid-level Patreon people, we do put out the whole video. It's just not live for them. And the YouTube people they just get the teasers, and non-live stuff, the little short stuff, or how to load your gun, and all the very basics, which I'm going to do on YouTube. So,
I would also
some feedback about Patreon. They've kicked off a lot of conservative content.
Yeah. Well, okay.
Patreon. Wow.
I mean, I can't, the problem is it works and like it exists and it's the big thing. And so
Well, there's other more friendly providers
that nobody knows about. So like, it's one of those things where you got to make a choice about use the stuff that everybody knows about or not. So
Until you get kicked off.
yeah, might get kicked off, might not.
Does Chuck Pressburg use some kind of a model that's similar? Maybe it'd be worth looking into whatever platform he's using.
Okay. Yep, I know of him. I think we've met once. I don't know him, but I don't know what he's doing. That's another problem I have is I don't keep track of what anybody else is doing.
He's up there in Washington State by you.
Oh, I know who he is and what he does. I just say I don't keep track of what anybody does on the internet. Like I don't follow or listen to anybody. I just do my thing, if that makes sense. Like, and so I don't really I haven't looked at anybody else to be able to model what they're doing.
You might want to get Todd Herman in on the next one too, possibly.
Yeah.
The other suggestion I might have is I tried to share the link a couple times, and this might be just kind of a trial attempt here, but when I shared the link a few times to a couple of friends of mine, it just had the image of your t-shirt that you were wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no details about who it was that was teaching the class or what it was about or any of that type of stuff.
Oh, okay.
And so I just got a bunch of like, who is this guy? What is this for? Like, what is this class? Is this you?
What,
like,
you mean I actually have to mark it?
Yeah.
That's bullshit. Okay, so yeah, I need to have better descriptions, write more stuff. I'll do that.
'Cause I tried to get a couple guys to join. They were like, I don't know who this is. I'm not spending $10 for, some rando guy,
Right.
So.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll make sure I have an intro to the class, but also the, some standardized script of who I am and what we're about. So that's
Yeah,
good.
that'd be great.
That's a good idea. Okay, well, my drink has been empty for like an hour, and so I think we should call it quits. And thank you very much for coming. And please, if you wish to give me any more feedback, PM me. I'd appreciate it. I'm very open to being criticized by people that I actually care about their opinion. And so you were actually in class, and so I care about your opinion. So cool.
Greg, look forward to the next time.
All right, man.
Thanks,
you.
Greg.
Thank you very much.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, Greg.
Yep.
Thank you. Good night.
Yep.